Greetings, Sifters. Welcome to GameFace, episode 390 on Sifted Games at SIFTD.net. We're just 10 episodes away from milestone episode 400 of GameFace. It's really hard to believe, and the only reason that we were about to do that is because of this man, Matthew Keil. What's up, Matt?
Hello.
Excited for your upcoming vacay? Yeah. Hopefully you get excited as it gets a little closer. I hope so. We all need time off, that's for sure. No matter what we're doing, you need time off. Even if your job seems like fun, you still need time off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's good to see that Matt's taking a little bit of time. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are having a good week. I'm not even going to ask if y'all are playing a bunch of great games because there aren't any games this week.
There's one.
Kinda.
Sulaco's good, but it's early access.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually not in the show today. But
no, but it is like Hades 2. It's basically done.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't get past the first boss.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, it's a boomer shooter. It's an old school boomer shooter. And it's like you want a boomer shooter done with modern tech. Like, that thing's actually pushing particle stuff that makes my rig sit up and notice.
Really?
I mean, part of it's because it's not optimized very well, but like, it's good. It's funny. It's good. It's good. Like, and there's a lot of like little touches because all the dead enemies are sprites, so they rotate facing you the whole way. But like, there's all this like
weird seeing that.
But there's all these extra stuff. So, like, they explode if you headshot them. So there's just like purple blood dripping off the ceiling, and when you step in it, you leave footprints everywhere. And so it's some nice touches to it.
Maybe in a future episode, a couple weeks now, because this week, what's up, Luna? Right on cue. Because this week it's all about not E3 2024, Summer Game Fest, and in fact, this entire episode is designed just to get you guys ready for that. In fact, I think we have someone very special in our chat right now. Special person in chat, maybe you want to put in a message and let them know that you're there. There he is. It's Marcus Beer. So we talked about it the last couple episodes, but since Matt has taken a little vacation, we are going to have different people working on our Not E3 / Summer Game Fest coverage. It's going to be myself, Marcus Beer, and Michael Pachter covering E3 for us this year. A quick look at what we're doing. So we will be recording a show on Sunday afternoon, basically right after the Microsoft stuff ends. And then we'll edit that real quickly, get it up for you guys as quickly as possible. And then the next day on Monday, right after the Ubisoft Forward press conference, we're going to record another show. So the show on Sunday, we'll tackle all the stuff that was in Jeff Keighley's thing on Friday, and we'll tackle all the Microsoft stuff. So that show's going to be a big boy. And then the show on Monday, we'll pick up any loose ends from Microsoft that we didn't get to tackle the day before, and we'll talk about all the stuff that Ubisoft has done. So welcome, Marcus, into our chat. I hope you guys are excited to check out our coverage of Not E3 and Summer Game Fest. One thing I should say, and I mentioned it last week as well, we're not doing the whole live reaction thing. Unfortunately, for a production perspective, it's just not possible for us to do it this year. So we're going to just do the post stuff anyway. I mean, I don't know. That's not really our thing, the whole live reaction. Like, we're not the guys that, like, flip out of our seats and, like, act all crazy during that stuff, so.
No, I didn't stand up and run around the room when Shenmue 3 was announced. I just went,
okay.
I didn't think that was going to happen.
Like a normal human being.
Yeah.
So anyway, Marcus.
In front of the camera is no place for normal human beings.
Yes,
we know that.
That's a good point, actually. So anyway, Marcus, welcome on our chat. You guys will be seeing a good bit from him over the next week and a half or so. Really excited about that. And thanks for stopping in, Marcus, and saying hello to the crew. A couple other things before we get going. New GameFace is on the way. I know that seems crazy because you're like, wait a minute, you just kind of got this setup that you're working on right now. Well, most of this stuff isn't going to change too much. There's going to be some tweaks to maybe some camera angles and stuff like that. But we're going to have all new graphics coming up very soon for GameFace. We're going to do some slight tweaks to the format and things like that. But now that we've kind of used this setup for a while, I've learned a lot. That's how life works. And we're going to make a couple tweaks based upon what we've done so far with this setup. But we're going to keep the intimate setting that we have now. We're not going to like push ourselves away from the camera like we were before. We're going to stay up close so you guys can see our faces and our facial expressions a little better than you used to be able to. So anyway, just some tweaks come into the show overall. Nothing drastic, but there will be new graphics and other things, so just something to keep in mind. People are talking about your lack of enthusiasm for Shenmue. That's why it was just...
Well, they're talking about the stream died for a minute.
Oh, it did?
They said it's back now.
Interesting. Well, I hope our recording wasn't affected by that. In fact, give me 1 second. I'm just going to check very quickly just to make sure. No, everything's okay. Looks like everything's okay on our end. I'll just keep my fingers crossed and hope that that is in fact the case. Sometimes you get surprises when you go to get the archive off of the hard drive. You're like, oh no! Marcus Beer crashed our stream. That's what it is.
Well, too literally.
Yeah, it's seriously. He crashed it, and then it crashed. That's the effect that you have, Marcus. It's all about you, brother. So anyway, yeah, we have some new tweaks and twists on GameFace happening. That's not going to happen until after Summer Game Fest, though. We're going to get through SGF and not E3, and then that stuff will start coming online. And we're going to start doing some different things with working with GameFace. We have 3.5 hours of content that we're just putting out as a chunk, and we're not doing anything with it. So I'm going to start dedicating some of my time away from producing some of the smaller shows that a lot of you guys honestly don't even give a chance to, and I'm going to start dedicating more time to promoting GameFace. And we'll start doing clips and things like that on our Twitter, and on, we'll be doing shorts on YouTube and things like that. That's the way that we're going to grow, and that's what we're going to do. So there's going to be a shifting of the gears here for GameFace in the pretty near future. Maybe we should do it for episode 400. Maybe that makes more sense when we turn the page. We'll see. But just to put
I think you should do it when you're ready to do it, because otherwise
otherwise
you're just giving yourself arbitrary deadlines.
That's a good point. Yeah. So anyway, just to put it on your radar, things are coming, tweaks are coming, changes are coming, and I think they'll all be to the better for SIFTD and for GameFace in general. Speaking of which, Matt, we just published the episode of Pactor Factor where we talk about the racism around Assassin's Creed Shadows. I published that, walked out of my place, got in my car, drove over here, came upstairs, checked, we lost 35 subscribers in that amount of time.
A lot of racists
because we dared to talk about racism on our channel. One thing I'm really realizing about this industry is that there's no reward for being a good person. In fact, it just makes things way harder. Like, we were just like, we'd be rolling in the subscribers. It's really sad, honestly. I mean,
even that's not working the way it used to. A bunch of those guys are way down, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm thinking a big part of it, though, is that, truthfully, most outlets are run by good people. And so you're spreading out the good people more thinly than the outlets that are, not that way. And so everybody gets to congregate to those few outlets that are just, going all in on the Chudism.
There's not that few, is the thing.
Yeah.
Most of them are YouTube channels, or Twitch channels, not actual real outlets, because nobody would fund that, business-wise. But, it's,
it's disheartening. It really is.
It's a self-aggrieved, self-victimizing audience who thinks they're underserved, even though they have been the status quo for most of human history, and they'll give you money if you tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah. By the way, I'm never going to do that. I will never sell out.
We never tell you what you want to hear.
We really don't. We really don't. We don't consider what people want to hear in our content at all.
No.
We don't. We tell it like it is. Some people are going to like it. Some people aren't going to like it. But I'm not going to sacrifice my morality to make a buck. That's just the way it is. I'll watch my site go down in flames before I ever do that. And I think you guys know that. So anyway, just a little perspective on the industry here as we're kicking off the show. It has been a slow week in game releases. We are not talking about any games today. I mean, specifically. We're not reviewing or previewing any games today. We're talking
today is just stock tips.
We're just hanging out here. Yeah.
We traded with Pactor.
We are going to go through Sony State of Play, which basically was its E3 2024 press conference. We're going to go game by game. I guarantee
Maybe it was a good thing we killed E3. Because
maybe. It is kind of stretched out now. And we get to cover it for 3 weeks instead of 1. That's kind of an advantage.
Yeah.
I think.
Sony didn't really start with a bang.
Yeah. But we're going to cover that. And I guarantee you our coverage of Sony State of Play is going to be more in-depth than anything you've seen so far. I do realize some other podcasts have covered it already. I can tell you right now, they're not going to cover it the way that we're about to. And then after we get through that, Matt and I are going to deliver our Not E3 2024 predictions. Couple of them are kind of crazy. We'll see how you guys react to that. And then maybe we'll get some of your predictions out of chat as well. As always, GameFace is a two-way street between us and you, our audience. You guys are a part of the show, just like Matt and I sitting here. And in fact, while I'm thinking about it, let's head into our chat and see what you guys are up to and what you're saying. I'm saying it, not true. I want to hear Cray mask that ass. Okay, fair enough. Matt, did you see the game Little Kitty Big City? It looks like Luna. We covered that game, Silk Snake.
Yeah, I didn't play it at the time, but Shane talked about it for like an hour.
Yeah, we covered it for like an hour, man. Where were you? Maybe you missed that episode or something. Mike's Q, thank you for Twitch Prime. I Am Beer says too much beer. There's no such thing as too much beer. I Timbo, thank you for Twitch Prime. A lot of you guys talk about the stream going down. That's very odd.
Well, that's...
And you didn't have to do anything for it to go back up. That's the weird part. Usually if it goes down...
The spirit of Lon D was mad that I was bad-mouthing Shenmue.
It must have been. The Surly Mexican, thank you for Twitch Prime. Commander Fett, thank you for Twitch Prime. I really appreciate it, guys. Again, our numbers for Twitch Prime have been way down the last couple months. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but our Patreon has dropped a ton over the last 2 months. So we really, really need the Twitch Prime. We saw some people who have been patrons for a really long time drop this month. It hurt, man.
Yeah, who knew Black Samurais were so...
I don't think it's related to that,
triggering.
though. I don't think that is. I'm talking about, like, our patrons. Like, we lost patrons who have been either subscribers or patrons to us for a long time.
Oh, so you mean we lost 35 subscribers on YouTube?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Patreon.
No, that episode was published for our patrons like a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just put it up on YouTube today. Not Cirque, thank you for
YouTube
Twitch
subscribers, that's a whole raging tempest of different things.
Prime. Yeah. Don Lionheart, thank you for Twitch Prime. Who else we got here? Eth Demon says Godzilla Minus One was added to US Netflix. I just saw that. I think it was yesterday. It was just added.
The first, it was added on everywhere, all worldwide, pretty much. On the
That
first.
was a shadow drop.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, so I may go home and just watch that after the show.
Still
today.
waiting for. You should watch it. Everyone should watch it. It's it's the second best Godzilla movie after the original.
God of Gamblers 33. Thank you.
We still don't have a release date for the West for physical media, though.
That's weird.
Well, they've got to make it. I don't think they ever intended to really do it. No one expected this to be the hit it was. Hence why it took 6 months to get to streaming. I don't think anyone was really in a rush to land the streaming rights originally.
Yeah.
And Toho will squeeze you for money whenever they can. So I'm sure there was a little bit of a negotiation there. But yeah, you should definitely watch that. It's really excellent. Even if you took Godzilla out of it, it's still a great movie.
Okay. Pharaoh Dolph says today only face.
Yes.
Because there's no games. That's funny. Mike Q says, but will you sacrifice someone else's morality to make a buck? I don't know how you even do that. Is that possible? To sacrifice someone else's morality?
I don't know.
We're going to try here on Face today.
Call the Terrifier guys. I bet they know.
That's a good point. Norris Nessie 94, thank you for Twitch Prime. Aussie Brit 2000, thank you for Twitch Prime. Appreciate it, guys. I really do. We came to get game and roll face, and we were all out of game. Mm-hmm. Everybody's piling on now. Let's see. What else we got here? You go into cover. Yeah, we'll cover a bunch of stuff. Oh, look at that. Justin Horman. Thank you, man. Look at those bits. Fuck racist. There you go, man. That's the spirit. That's the sifted spirit right there, Justin Horman. Right on the money. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So anyway, I think we're just about ready to get on with our housekeeping. And we do have a lot of housekeeping today, conveniently, because there are no games. It works out that way. However, I do want to try to get the show done in 3 hours today. We've been going 3:15, 3:20 for the last, 4 episodes. Again, that's always on me. That's always my fault. I need to do better. So I'm going to try to get this episode to 3 hours without having any games. Hopefully, we have some wiggle room that I can make that happen. We'll see how it goes. All right. Let's get to our housekeeping here on this episode of GameFace. The first thing we're going to discuss is PlayStation VR2. It has been pretty much an unmitigated disaster since it launched last year. Mm-hmm. Very little good things to say about it. We were kind of wondering how long...
It's a really nice piece of hardware.
It is.
But there's not much to do with it.
Yeah. Because the software support has been anemic so far. And we've been kind of waiting for this deluge of software from PlayStation. We just saw their state of play.
It's a great headset. Yeah. I just wish I had something to play on it.
Well, now you do. Kind of. Ish. Yeah. I mean, you do. You have the whole library of VR now because PlayStation VR 2 is now going to be compatible with PC. And basically there's a little, and in fact, let me stop this B-roll right here.
Let me stop you right there, Sony.
Because there's this little adapter that you buy for, is it $60? Yeah, $60. that you use to attach to your existing PlayStation VR, and then the whole setup kind of looks like this once you have it done. So once again, we're back to PlayStation VR having that little box that you have to plug stuff into.
Well, you're never gonna get away from that.
Yeah.
With a high quality. I mean, you either got resolution and the quality there, or you have the Quest.
Yeah.
Now I think the Quest is the wave of the future. I think that's the way to go if you can, but Sony was never gonna do that.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, Sony was pretty smart with this marketing to decide to put Half-Life Alyx on the monitor.
Yeah, the thing we couldn't get for the PlayStation.
Now
you can play it. Yeah.
So basically how it works is you buy the little dongle for $60, and that allows you to start using Steam to buy VR games. You can just go right onto Steam, and all of a sudden, that entire library of VR software will now work on PlayStation VR2. We saw some fans trying to hack the hardware a while ago and try to get it to work, and they were very close, but they kind of needed that little extra, and here it is.
Well, they're going to need hardware to make it work, basically, especially on NVIDIA cards, and in the end, basically buying their hack was going to cost way more than this box does.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Sony actually aware of something for once.
Yeah. Yeah, they figured it out only because they had to.
Yeah, you had to do something with it.
I mean, either that or you just cancel PlayStation VR2 because it is flatline.
Yeah, no, they're still showing stuff for it in the state of play. So.
But notice none of it was exclusive to PlayStation VR2.
Oh, that's over.
It was all multi-platform, and now it's definitely.
I would be stunned if any internal work is.
Do you think there will ever be another first-party PlayStation VR2 exclusive?
Maybe if this does well.
Yeah.
But even then, you're not really expanding your PS5 base.
I mean, it is a good deal. So if you're a PC player and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about getting VR, is PlayStation VR2 the one to buy now?
I would say so, yeah.
I think it kind of is.
It's really with this, it's really between the Quest and this. Mm-hmm. Because this is better.
Well, Quest doesn't even use PC, so...
Right, that's what I mean. It's like either you want the Quest or you want this.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is a better option than Vive and stuff like that.
Well, Vive isn't a thing anymore.
It is.
And not... Seriously,
people just don't care about it. But they still keep putting out new HMDs.
And people, I mean, the most common comment I saw about this was Index is dead.
I mean, sure. It's like, did anybody ever buy the Valve Index to begin with?
Some, I don't know. I don't hear about any of this anymore.
Yeah,
nobody talks about VR anymore.
And you also don't really hear about the PC-driven Oculus headsets anymore either. It's all about Quest now.
Quest is the brand now. Yeah, absolutely.
They don't. I think they do still manufacture PC-driven headsets, but no one cares.
No one knows for sure.
Yeah, and no one cares. That's the big problem. Nobody cares. So yeah, to my question earlier, I do think this is probably the best VR to buy now because for price, it's it's $400 or $500. In fact, right now there is a deal where they've taken $100 off PlayStation VR2. It's the biggest discount to PlayStation VR2 ever. That discount happens 2 days later. They announced that the PC dongle, breakout box, whatever the hell they're calling it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they're trying to get people on board and buy it now, but if you are trying to find that deal, you can head to SIFTD.net right now. Go to the Deals channel. Again, a feature of SIFTD you won't find anywhere else. A whole channel where it's just deals for video games. Go to that channel, and it's on there. If you're interested, you can find yourself PlayStation VR2 for $100 off. Spend the $60. If you save the $100, you're still good to the $40 to buy the little breakout box for your PC. Off you go.
Although, honestly, I would probably wait for reviews.
After E3?
I would wait for reviews.
Oh, do you think the box might have issues?
I don't know about issues, but I mean, it doesn't support all the features. Eye tracking isn't supported.
That's right. There is some stuff that DualSense stuff doesn't work either.
DualSense stuff doesn't. Now, to be fair, almost 99% of PC games are not going to support that anyway, and most PC VR games don't support eye tracking yet. So some of the people were saying that some of the reason might be just Sony knew that those features were not going to be utilized in any real sense, so why put it in? That could probably be changed later, I would think. But yeah, it isn't offering all the same features as the PS5 usage is, but the trick is that most PC games don't do that, and no one's going to update their PC VR game specifically for PlayStation VR. So you're not really losing anything, and it's obviously it still works that way on PS5 if you want to use it that way.
Yeah.
But basically, if you don't have a PSVR 2, my suggestion on this would be buy the box in case that sells out, because that might end up being hard to find.
Yeah.
And then if it turns out that it works well and everybody likes it and it's a solid experience, then buy a PSVR 2.
Because even if you end up not buying it, Matt, you probably will still be able to sell that box on,
you can sell that box.
eBay, probably for like a profit.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, especially if it turns out to be a disappointment.
Yeah.
But you could probably return it.
Yeah.
Or sell it for almost what you paid for it.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a big move for PlayStation.
But it'd be better than hitting the point where like you decide you want it and then now you can't get the box because it is successful.
Right.
Because remember, Sony doesn't sound like Sony's making a ton of these.
Yeah. It's crazy how fast the world is changing, Matt. I mean, not just that now, like, exclusive games for PlayStation or for Xbox are being released on other platforms. Because also, by the way, Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, is now coming to Xbox as well. So we're starting to see some of the PlayStation exclusives now come over to Xbox as well. I mean, it's not just that, though. Now we're seeing hardware making it work with other pieces of hardware.
Yeah, well, I mean, out of pure desperation.
Still, it's a big deal.
This might just be, their way. It's like, well, maybe if we go, now that the PC is a viable platform for them, they're like, well, let's just put our PSVR 2 stuff on PC as well eventually, and like, we'll make a little more if people can use our headset there.
I mean, it should be day and date on PC without question.
Oh yeah, like there's no
all their games, VR games, should be day and date on PC.
Yeah, you can't pretend that anyone's going to remember your PSVR 2 game 6 months later or a year later. So.
Yeah. So I think personally, this is great for everybody. This is great all around. If you're an existing PlayStation VR 2 owner, it's great. You just literally expanded your library by like 10 times or something. I mean, it's awesome. And sure, you'd have to spend that extra $60 or whatever to get it. But if you're a big VR player, that's totally worth it, man. To open up that entire library.
If you're a big VR player, you already have a PC headset.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
I mean, PlayStation VR 2 is pretty good.
But if you're a serious like VR person, you have a PC headset because that's where VR is.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
up until now, it really has been.
Yeah. Up until forever. Like, this isn't changing.
I mean, but we just recommended people buy PlayStation VR 2 over the other HMDs.
Right, but odds are you already have an HMD if you're already interested.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So anyway, big moves for Sony and PlayStation VR 2. And again, it's just another sign of how the sands are shifting right now. Things are just changing at a rate that first of all, I never thought I would see this stuff happen at all. And now it's just happening like bam, 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 bam. It's like once the first domino fell, the rest just started toppling. So it's a different environment than we're used to here, people. Quickster says, I'll never go back to LCD once I experience OLED. And that's even more important when you're talking about like screens in VR, where you have refresh rates are really important to keep people from getting sick. Like I get sick really badly on VR. Screens are really important. Refresh rate may be more important than anything on those screens that are inside.
Yeah.
So
it also doesn't have HDR, which sucks.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the only missing feature that really is an issue, I would say. But I think you can probably fix that in software for a lot of stuff.
And Vincent asks if Horizon Call of the Mountain will get ported to PC. Why not?
Because it doesn't support the features you need to make that work properly.
You're right. With that game in particular, it has to have it. Yeah, you're right. So maybe not. Maybe some of those old PlayStation VR 2 exclusives will never come to PC. It'll be interesting to see if Sony starts building games based upon the PC environment for VR. And it's like, look, like we don't want to use the DualSense stuff anymore because then we close the market off to the PC.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine they will have an option for it, but it won't be custom built anymore.
Yeah.
I would certainly also like to see them start throwing some of their older stuff on PC. Just think, well, I'm just on an endless quest to play Iron Man VR with decent load times, I guess. I don't know.
Because those load times were what, like literally
like a minute and a half, and you're just staring at nothing. Like you're like, okay, I'm just fucking looking at the back of my retinas at this point. Like you got to give me something to look. Like, give me a tip screen or something.
So anyway, big moves from PlayStation, Sony with PlayStation VR 2. Now it's accessible to a whole other new audience, and it is, for the tech, a pretty good deal.
Let's see if anyone notices.
Yeah, which it's possible that nobody does. Like, it could just be like a fart in the wind.
Yeah, I mean, I ordered a box. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, when he gets here, we'll
in part just to see, we'll see if it's still in the box. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't opened it since you brought it back.
Well, really? It's still in there. I promise you it's there. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest on PlayStation VR 2. Next up, somebody asked if we were going to talk about this in the chat. And sure enough, it's our second story in housekeeping. So this week, Matt, it was uncovered that somebody, and they wouldn't say who it was, they didn't call him out, and that's probably good for their physical health, that Someone inside Google/YouTube has been leaking Nintendo and other video game secrets by basically going in and looking at the videos that they have set to private, waiting to publish. So maybe for those of you who don't use YouTube as a creator, basically how it works is you can upload a video to there, and then you select who can see it. So if you select it to public, it goes out, and everyone on your channel gets an alert, and they can all see it. If you have it as unlisted, which is like a lot of our videos for our patrons, people who have the link can watch it, and then they're set to private, where nobody can watch it except for the person who uploaded it. And what happens is the people who are working at YouTube and working at Google were going in and looking at Nintendo's YouTube account, looking at the videos that were set to private, and were like, hot damn, they're announcing a new Zelda on Monday, or they're announcing a new Kirby game on Tuesday. And they were the leakers who were going on social media saying, hey, this stuff is happening, and finally they caught them. Like, I don't know why we didn't figure this out a long time ago that this was happening.
Well, because those people are going to be fucked.
Yeah.
Like, on a scale you can't even imagine.
Well, they won't be. They'll be fired, obviously. But
yeah.
Google and YouTube, they will be sued, likely, for this.
But, like, those people are never getting hired anywhere tech-related again.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well, they didn't share the names of the people who did it yet.
They will.
Yeah, maybe. If litigation happens, then yeah.
Litigation happens, discovery happens, you're going to have to say who did it.
Yeah.
So that'll be public record.
It's such an easy way to leak stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't think so because, like, you're going to get nailed for that. Like, it's...
Like, even the GameStop database, which used to be a source for leaks, like, eventually GameStop cleaned that up so that their people who worked at the stores couldn't find stuff. Like... But YouTube apparently has not. And here's the other thing. That
still happens with certain things. Like toys get leaked through Walmart's retail data, like SKU database all the time, but it's toys. No one cares.
Yeah.
Like video game stuff got locked down long ago in that regard.
Yeah. So the other thing too is that now video game publishers are probably going to be on guard. They're going to have to now go and upload this stuff right before they want to publish it. Mm-hmm. Would you trust it again? I wouldn't.
Not if I were Nintendo, no.
I mean, how...
I mean, that's why Microsoft puts their stuff up after they've been shown. Like, they have somebody uploading stuff as the show's going on.
Yeah. I mean, everybody does that now. Like, the State of Play that happened, literally, the second the trailer finished, it appered on their YouTube channel. So they have it all timed. I think they have just somebody sitting there that just manually turns it to public when the trailer finishes in the show or whatever.
Right, but from what I understand, Microsoft doesn't upload it.
Oh, really?
Until the show is on.
It's smart. That's the way you should be doing
Specifically because of this concern.
Yeah, and I think all publishers now are going to look at their processes on YouTube and be like, what have we been doing? We're so lucky we didn't get burned.
Although at this point, Microsoft could maybe use the hype.
Yeah, actually, it might be smart to just let it happen.
Yeah, just throw that Banjo-Kazooie 3 trailer up there.
And let it sit.
Let it marinate.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, if I were working at Google or YouTube, like, I'll be honest with you, Matt, I would have been looking out for this. If someone who works in the games news industry, games journalism, like, if I were working at YouTube or Google, I would have told them about this a long time ago. I'd have been like, look, you're letting 5,000 employees here have access to Nintendo's, like, YouTube channel and Microsoft's and PlayStation's.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point...
You're just crossing your fingers that one of them doesn't...
Yeah, but that's everything. That's how you're giving these things to editors from outside companies to edit the trailers. You know, that's how a lot of stuff leaks in film. Is like, you know, you have to rely on hundreds of people to get these things done. Yeah. And not everyone in that chain is gonna keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, it's like I've said before. You know, we had an editor at Game Trailers take a video game and play it and post the whole game on YouTube, and this person knew better, like knew a million times better, and could not help themselves. They just couldn't. Like, I don't know if they just had a brain glitch, and they're just like, I don't care anymore about anything. I'm just going to publish this entire video game on YouTube.
We had the leak at G4 briefly. Like, not even serious, just somebody posting stuff on GameFax about stuff that I'm like, I know that.
How do they know that?
Like, how do they know that? That's something that happened in my game. How do they know that? And it was like just, you know, people can walk by that game lab and see what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway.
It was a fishbowl at that old office.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million ways that this can happen. You know, stuff gets leaked out. This is an obvious one, and my guess is now maybe YouTube or Google is creating some kind of an atmosphere in the back end where their associates can no longer get in and look at that stuff. That'd be my guess.
Or maybe you just have to, like, keep track of who's looking at it.
Right. Yeah. Have some way to track the internal, like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
some kind of number that each terminal inside the company has.
Yeah, that should be pretty. I mean, I can see why you wouldn't necessarily do that because you wouldn't think your people are doing that.
You want to believe that they're
not. You want to believe, but
Yeah.
they took that "Don't be evil" sign off the wall a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing at Google.
No, you're
anymore.
right.
Not that this is evil, but it's just like the loyalty to Google as an employee, I imagine, is not there anymore. You know, it's more exciting to do this than to like be part of Google or YouTube, I guess. And it's Nintendo. You know, people will go crazy. People do weird shit for Nintendo.
Yeah, they sure do. It makes people do crazy stuff. I think it may be the only publisher on the planet that will make people go that far.
I've seen some weird stuff from fans.
Yeah,
but,
I could see that.
The scale is obviously different.
Yeah, a little different. So anyway, I mean, the fact of the matter is, this may end a lot of leaks that we are used to getting, which may be good. Like, I think it's good to have a little bit of mystery in this industry instead of everybody knowing everything that's going to happen before it happens. And in fact, we're a little guilty of that as well because we're about to tell you a lot of stuff that's going to happen over the next week in this
To be
episode.
fair, I don't remember the last time something leaked where I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. I wish I hadn't known that. Most of the leaks are just like,
Okay, yeah.
No kidding.
I guess that. Yeah, I hear you. So anyway, that's the latest on leaks, and there may not be as many in the future. Vincent says the State of Play was fully leaked through as this as well. That's actually accurate. I don't know if it was the same thing, but Insider Gaming, like 2 hours before the Sony State of Play, had the whole rundown of the show. All of it. Like every single game and a little blurb on what they're going to show of each one of them. So you're right, Vincent. That's still happening. It looks like maybe that was the way, but it probably is the way. And AJ the Legend Watson, I haven't seen you for a while, brother. Where you been, man? Hope you're doing good. He asks, what are the repercussions? Was it worth it ultimately for them, and how will this change how publishers conduct business going forward? I mean, the repercussions is the guy who did it or girl who did it is going to be fired. And as we talked about, I think, YouTube or Google is going to try to shore things up, although it looks like it hasn't done it yet because all that stuff leaked out for the State of Play. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it doesn't really matter. The vast majority of Nintendo's customers are never even going to know this direct happened.
Yeah, you're right. Losing...
let alone whether these trailers were known about 2 days before they were shown. It doesn't affect anything. It's just, security is just taken very seriously by tech companies. That includes game companies. Losing
a job at Google/YouTube is a big deal. And as Matt said earlier, that person may be blackballed and may not get a job in tech again.
Yeah, if their name comes out, that's a big problem. Otherwise, obviously, it's not like you can call Google, hit their managers, and they'll just say you worked at Google.
They can't say...
In California, at least, you can only say, yes, they worked here. You can't give a review.
Yeah, yeah.
Or tell them why they left or why they were fired or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way it is here. But states are different. Some states don't have that same law.
Yeah, but I'm just going by where Google is.
Yep. Emperor Dread, thank you for Twitch Prime, man. Appreciate it. AJ follows up, been in Utah taking care of mom, who just had knee surgery. Okay. Finally back home in California. Spent 35 plus days in Ogden. Well, as you can see, I noticed that you were gone. I missed you, brother. Glad to see you're back. Hope your mom came through her knee surgery okay. I know what that's like. I've had a couple of those myself. Next up, we're going to talk about Fortnite. Matt, what do you think is the one thing, if you're going to run a free-to-play game, that you cannot do if you want it to be successful?
I don't know.
If you're a free-to-play gamer, what would piss you off more than anything about a free-to-play game?
I don't know. I can't imagine being a free-to-play gamer.
Well, I'll tell you. What most people would be really mad about is if you can pay to win the game. And Fortnite, up to this point, Epic's mantra around Fortnite was basically never pay to win.
Yeah, most games are. I mean, you don't see that much. I can't remember the last pay-to-win game, really.
Well,
I even see ads for Marvel Snap. What would it be like if you played a card game on mobile where you couldn't just buy the latest best card? I'm like, all of them? I've never played a card game on mobile that let you do that. What are you talking about? It's always a fucking gotcha shit. I want Venom. You got a 0.01 chance of getting it. That. Yeah. If I could just buy the Venom card, I would. That's not a thing. So I don't know. People complain about pay to win stuff all the time, but you rarely actually see it, which makes this even more surprising.
Yeah, because Fortnite has been great about it. Obviously, it's the biggest free to play. I think probably the biggest free to play game in the world right now. Is it bigger than League? Probably.
I think so.
It's close.
I don't know.
It's one of the top 2 free-to-play games in the entire
culturally, it's
right
definitely
now.
bigger.
Yeah, and it's done a great job of this. It has not defaulted to pay-to-win at all. And just to be fair, this could just be an oversight or a mistake. The other thing about it, Matt, is that Fortnite is going crazy right now. Like, it's not Fortnite anymore. They're adding all this insane stuff. There's like all these Lego games inside it. There's like a racing game inside it that's a little bit like Rocket League. One of the new additions is this DLC we're seeing right now, which is this crazy Mad Max Fallout DLC.
I saw Ninja quit.
He quit Fortnite?
Until the season's over, yeah.
Really?
He decided I think it was Ninja.
Because it's insane what they're doing. And one of the big changes for this DLC in particular is that people are getting vehicles in Fortnite. And again, that's a pretty big departure from what Fortnite has been all along. And so I'm not surprised to hear that long-term players like Ninja might be like, I'm out until they change this. Well, what has happened with these cars is you can earn free cars, but you can also pay for cars. And what has happened is the cars that you pay for have small windshields, which makes it very difficult for somebody to snipe you while you're driving the car. The free cars have huge windshields, and it's like you drive like 20 feet, and you end up getting sniped through the windshield. So, essentially, if you pay for one of the cars, you have an advantage in the game, which is something that has never happened in Fortnite before. And again, it could just be an oversight. We don't know, and I doubt Epic's ever going to tell us. I mean, Epic's probably going to tell us it was just an accident or a mistake or whatever. But at least in this case, it is a sign that maybe Fortnite is becoming so big that even Epic can't control it anymore. That it's just too much to keep track of. And that they can't make sure that sort of the tenets of that franchise are perpetuated into the future anymore. It just seems like it's become such a big monster that even a company as big as Epic has got to a place where it cannot manage it any longer. What do you think about this, Matt?
I don't really. I mean, I find it hard to believe that was accidental. Like it was probably like a sly little like, oh, this will be a nice little advantage for someone who buy. Like, maybe they didn't expect the sniping through windshields to be quite such a big element of the meta.
Well, if they'd ever played a shooter with vehicles, they would know.
True. I mean, it seems like a cool idea, like conceptually.
Yeah.
Like add Mad Max vehicles to Fortnite. You know, it's a thing that's been missing, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Make the windshields on the new cars harder to shoot through, the.
They should just make the paid cars free.
Yeah,
and then people can choose the windshield if they want.
Well, that's not going to happen. But like, you could make the windshields of the free cars tougher. Mm-hmm. That would probably be my
So it'd take a couple different shots to get through the windshield. Yeah, there's some way that you can balance it for sure. It's just rare to see a misstep from this game. That's why this game is so huge. That's why this game is so popular. Because let's be honest, Epic has handled it perfectly until now. Mm-hmm. Like we've never had a conversation like this about Fortnite.
No, and also I saw some people complaining about the seat switching, which is like that classic Battlefield thing, where you just jump from seat to seat, and then pop out and then shoot the guy, and like, they can't really track you because you're literally
jumping
teleporting
through the seats real fast. Yeah.
So it's some of it's just like standard multiplayer annoyance things have come to Fortnite. Yeah.
It took a while. I think they did a pretty good job for quite a while.
Yeah.
Keeping it from devolving to that state. And I mean, honestly, the fact that they've added so much stuff to it, and this is the only kind of misstep, is also kind of impressive. So I don't know that I think this was intentional. I think it was just a mistake, but I do think that the game is starting to spiral out into places that it's so hard to keep track of everything that we're going to start seeing stuff like this happen more often. And then I think it mattered, like how quickly and how nimble Epic is will affect the overall opinion of Epic and this game. If Epic quickly fixes stuff, apologizes, I think they'll be fine. But if it drags its feet and tries to make excuses and things like that, that's when you start to piss off fans. That's when you start to lose a little bit of your player base. So,
wait till they add jet fighters.
What'd you say? Jet fighters?
Wait till they add jet fighters.
I mean, there's still a long way to go for Fortnite.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still so much stuff that they haven't added that a lot of other shooters do have.
The air war is coming, I assure you.
I mean, seriously. And there'll probably be like some avatar or something that'll sponsor it. Like, that this vehicles is all part of that Mad Max / Fallout.
Yeah. Eventually,
DLC.
this thing's just getting up as some kind of wonky permutation of GTA Online.
It's kind of headed that way. Yeah, and we'll see.
Like how everything eventually evolves into a crab.
Yeah, that's funny. So anyway, that's the latest update on Fortnite. And I know that some of you guys do actually play this game. Like, it is not purely a casual player's game. Like, all my nieces and nephews play it. But there are also people on SIFTD who play Fortnite every day. Commander Fett says Riot has done similar things with League of Legends. Some skins make it harder to see abilities. Yeah, I honestly quit playing League of Legends during the pandemic and have never gone back. I have now not played it for like 4 years. And I used to play it every day. I don't know how I broke the chain. Just one day I woke up and had no interest in playing it anymore, and I never did.
They got a second season of that cartoon coming.
Yeah, which was really good. Arcane.
Yeah. And nobody thought they were doing it.
Yeah. No one thought they were going to do another season?
No, there was no real talk of it. And so all of a sudden they put up an announcement, and it's like...
I mean, it's really a no-brainer. It did very well. Everybody loved it, so...
It did okay.
Oh, it didn't do great?
Netflix is cagey about
what
does
tell.
well or what does... I mean, they put up actual numbers now, but you still don't know what that's out of, you know?
Yeah.
It's look up, who is it? Oh, I can't remember who it was, but look up on YouTube the movie that broke Netflix.
Okay.
It's about this terrible action, like Die Hard on a stopped train movie with nobody in it. Like it's just like sort of this bad
action movie,
C-D list action movie called SAS Black Swan Rising or something like that. Because the Black Swans are the evil group that he's fighting. But it was like it was like number 2 or number 3 on Netflix for like a long time, and no one could figure out why until somebody finally figured out that it was the same period of time. So it used to be called SAS Red Notice. Red Notice is, I've never heard of any of these movies before. I
haven't either.
Red Notice was the Netflix film that Ryan Reynolds and The Rock were in. It was just called Red Notice. It had nothing to do with this other movie. But the trailer went up while the SAS Red Notice movie was on Netflix, and apparently millions of people went on Netflix and like, I wonder if that Rock Ryan Reynolds movie is there, and found this thing, and like 32 million people watched it. Oh my God. But like
the first 10 minutes.
No, like the engagement indicates they watched like the whole thing, and like, and everyone's like, wait, so, and eventually they changed the name so there wasn't any more confusion. That's why it's called Black Swan Rising or whatever now. But like, did you not notice that The Rock and Ryan Reynolds were taking a real long time to show up in their own movie? Like, Gal Gadot does not appear at any point. Like, it was so weird, and it's just like that whole world is completely indecipherable to me. Although I will note that
maybe it was Gal Gadot, because I have an unhealthy obsession with Gal Gadot.
Well,
if I thought she was going to be in the movie, I'd probably stick around for at least 30 minutes.
Well, that movie will break you of that, I assure you, because she has a lot to do in that movie. And that was a mistake. Turns out. Yeah, it's.
I'm not into her for her acting abilities.
Yeah, well, it is. We're also worth noting that Godzilla -1 is number 1 on Netflix and number 1 on iTunes at the same time.
Awesome.
And that has never happened before.
Wow, I'm gonna go home and watch it as soon as I get home from this. So I've been waiting to watch that film for a while. The wife's gone.
Yeah.
I'll crank up my freaking surround sound and let it rip. I can't wait. So anyway, Fortnite, a misstep. I do think it was probably an accident or an oversight. However, I do think stuff like this may happen more often going forward because the game has just become unmanageable almost at this point. Next up, we got some information from PlayStation this week. And I don't know if it's good information or bad information, Matt, but PlayStation shared that 49 million people have still yet to upgrade from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. Meaning not just that like that many more people bought a PS4 that haven't bought a PS5. 49 million people are still playing their PS4s daily and just have not upgraded to PlayStation 5. Why do you think that is, Matt?
Because the system never got cheaper.
No price cuts.
I think you're looking at the part of the audience that waits for a price cut.
Yeah.
And it's still waiting and maybe waiting forever.
Yeah. You think that's all it is?
Pretty much, yeah.
You don't think it's like they don't see the value in upgrading?
No, I think it's economic.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit.
I mean, at this point, the value in upgrading is obvious because there's stuff that doesn't run on PS4.
Yeah.
Some of the overlap on that is probably there. But, like, a lot of it is just like, well, I can still play God of War Ragnarok on my PS4. I can still play. So why don't I just wait until the PS5's cheaper and then get it? But the PS5 is never getting cheaper, and slowly things are moving over there. I'm curious how many of these people will eventually make the jump, and we'll see if that PS5 Pro thing turns out to be real at some point.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get something about that in the state of play. If it is indeed real.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I think I will chalk almost all of the sluggishness of the next gen adoption to economic.
Yeah.
Like basically, I think it's just cost too much.
I mean, I'll admit, I had a PS4 Pro.
Although it's a deal compared to the PS3. Just the PS3's price for inflation, it's $1,000
right.
in 2024.
It's really insane. I mean, I will fully admit that when the transition happened, I had a PS4 Pro, and then I got my PS5, and I had just played God of War. Was it God of War on PS4? Or maybe it was Assassin's Creed. I can't remember. I had just played a big game on my PS4 Pro, and then I downloaded the PS5 version and played it on PS5. I really struggled to see the difference.
That must have been God of War, because the difference on Valhalla was very noticeable.
Yeah, I think it was God of War. And I was like...
the frame rate doubled on Valhalla. So, I think God of War must have been it.
I think it was. And I just remember sitting there, and I'm like, obviously I need this thing for work, but I'm sitting there, and I'm like, if I didn't, I might be a little pissed off that I spent $550 for this thing right now. And it does feel like it's taken way too long to get those games that you're talking about that only run on the PS5.
Yeah, it's been a slow ramp. Some of that's because of COVID. Some of this just, I think there's a mixture of a lot of things there, and some of it's because of the slow adoption in comparison to the previous generation. But, it's hard. It's a little hard to demonstrate the difference at this point. Outside of, something like Hellblade or Horizon Forbidden West is pretty obvious.
Yep.
But, back in the launch, it was hard to
tell. Yeah.
Hard to really point to anything.
I'm curious if anyone in chat is in this group. If you are still a huge gamer, obviously if you're watching our stream, you're a huge gamer. But if you're a huge gamer and you have a PS4 that you still play all the time, and you just have either refused to level up to PS5 or you don't think it's worth it, let us know why you have decided not to get a PS5 yet. The Retro Modern Gamer says, no price drops, and if they keep making games for PS4, why move over to PS5? If they stop making PS4 games, it might entice people to move over to PS5. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what we were saying.
That is usually the cutoff when you force everybody over. I mean, Nintendo...
Do you think they waited too long to do that?
Maybe. I mean, it depends how much longer they intend to keep the PS5 alive.
Yeah.
Are we 2 years out from the PS6, or are we 5 years out from the PS6?
I would lean more toward 5. Provided there is a PS5 Pro.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I think this gen might last 10 years.
It should.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to jump to.
I know.
What's the big hardware leap you want to make?
If you thought...
You're basically just putting a new graphics card in.
Yeah. I mean, if you thought the law of diminishing returns was wreaking havoc on the PS4 to PS5 generation, just wait till the PS5 to PS6 generation. I know Microsoft is saying, our next jump is going to be the biggest ever. Okay.
I mean, at least you got Unreal 5 to, kind of demonstrate on this one. Although it took a long time to catch up to those. I think you're just now starting to see Unreal 5 stuff with things like Hellblade 2 and Body Cam and stuff that's finally starting to measure up to those original demo reels. Maybe that'll help. I think they should probably drag this generation out as long as they possibly can, and if that means you got to put out a Pro, so be it. But I'm becoming increasingly skeptical that we're going to see that this year.
Me too. I mean, this data tells me I don't think we're going to see it. Because they're wait a minute, we're going to ask them not... Because right now they're asking you to upgrade to a PS5 that's, $550 after tax? Now, I mean, the Pro's going to cost more money.
I would hope they know to make the Pro the same price.
I think they already... Well, the rumors are that they're going to keep the old PS5 on the market and charge more for the Pro.
Sony. That would
be a mistake.
Sony gonna Sony, but that's a mistake.
It is a mistake. Yeah.
If you want those 49 million people, one of the ways to entice them is to say, "Oh, here's the same price for better hardware."
Yep. Khalib Twilai says, "Will PS6 leap make much of a difference without console exclusives? Some publishers have gone multi-platform like Square Enix." Yeah. I mean, it definitely lessens the draw. Especially, here's the other thing.
Well, a lot of that comes down to brand loyalty in the console space, and PlayStation definitely has that.
Well, I think you're also going to get to a place where the average consumer, who would just normally just buy the PS6 or just buy the next Xbox, I think people are going to start thinking to themselves, should I get a PC instead of buying this console that, I can buy a new graphics card every 5 years and it keeps getting better because everything's launching for PC now.
PC gaming has grown, for sure. I have a hard time seeing the majority of the console audience ever saying that.
It is more expensive. Significantly more expensive.
Significantly more expensive.
By the way, folks, I'm about to finally upgrade my PC.
And a lot more trouble. I can just buy... There's no such thing as just get another graphics card.
No, you're right.
That That doesn't work the
Because
same
you may have
way.
to change your power supply. You may need to get a new
Get a new
motherboard.
You might have to rebuild the whole thing at that point.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing.
And then you're like, oh, I got the new graphics card, but the GPU is great, but I'm kind of being held back by the RAM. You know, you
got to spend around $1,100-$1,200 just to upgrade your PC. If you have an existing PC and you end up using like your PSU and your case and all that stuff.
But I mean, yeah, it's true. Like, I'll probably have mine for many until the next, ray tracing style idea they come up with to sell you the next generation of graphics cards and have to upgrade everything again, because that's going to happen. They'll think of something.
It also says GPUs have become insane due to... Yeah, I was mentioning this when I was talking about rebuilding my PC. It's like I used to be able to buy a mid-range graphics card for $250 to $300. Now they're $500 to like $650. It's just the truth. Like, it's doubled in price. Also, by the way, NVIDIA is like right on the fringe of becoming the most valuable company in the world. It is right behind Microsoft and Apple right now. It's insane what NVIDIA has done. One of my biggest financial regrets in life was not buying NVIDIA stock. I even remember Ryan Stevens, like, out of nowhere just telling me, like, hey, buy NVIDIA stock. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, no, you should buy it. He's like, I've doubled my money already. And that was years ago. And now it's insane where the stock is gone. Ethan says consoles on the market haven't grown since the PS2. That's pretty accurate, actually. It's gone up and down, and they've got close to the PS2, but they haven't really topped it. Yeah, that's pretty true. Quickster says, I think the fact that people are mostly playing old games has a big effect, too. Why upgrade if all you play is Fortnite or Minecraft? That's a good point, too. All the free-to-play stuff, like... Games
as a service, ironically, does sort of lock you into old hardware.
Yeah, well, because you're like, why upgrade? This game's not going to look that much better on the new hardware, because they make...
Yeah, I don't need to spend $550 to make Destiny 2 look a little better.
Yeah, there's no point. Yeah, and so there is a lot of factors that are playing into it. There's no doubt about it. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of people dragging their feet to buy a PS5. And it's also kind of auspicious because that means there's still a lot of people to buy a PS5. So you hope you can convert them and get them to upgrade.
You wonder if Sony's looking at that Series S.
And being like, Yeah, they were onto something there. It's possible. Yeah. I mean, 49 million people waiting to buy another console. You can make a console like the Series S and turn a profit on that hardware still.
Yeah. Well, the problem, I guess, is that the Series S is really just the PS4 Pro.
Yeah,
in a way.
It's really kind of like the Xbox One X, really.
Yeah.
Like, it is more powerful, but not by a ton. But, so anyway, there you go. Lots of people dragging their feet still. I mean, we're like at year 4 now?
Coming up.
That's pretty crazy.
September.
That's a little concerning, for sure. So
I'm not concerned.
Well... I mean, I guess
I'm not a Sony shareholder, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I care about the overall health of the industry.
The industry's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, in that
I don't know about that.
In that regard, profits are sky high, sales are sky high. The problems in the industry are entirely in terms of jobs being held by developers, and that has nothing to do with the success of the games, because the successful games are still having layoffs.
Yeah, I think also the fewer games is a big deal. There just aren't as many games coming out anymore, so you have less opportunity to see a game that's going to make you go, oh,
well, again,
I need to get a PS5 for that.
I think this is a unique period of time where you had delays from COVID and all. We talked about it before. Last year had a ridiculous release schedule because you had all the delayed games and all the games that were on time, all on top of each other, and now we're paying the price for that because the games that got delayed means that everybody's behind on getting their next wave of stuff out.
This year has been pretty awful.
This year is very barren.
It has been pretty awful.
Because of that. Yeah. And it's not an industry health thing. It's just that's what happened. People can only work so fast, especially when you fire thousands of them. Yeah. So
and again, we had a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that shut down the entire planet. So there's repercussions.
Yeah, you can't really take this year as data yet.
No, you're right. I agree with you on that. Next up, so we talked about how Jeff Keighley's big Summer Game Fest thing is on Friday. And we'll be covering that in our show on Sunday, along with all the big Xbox news from its presser on Sunday morning. However, Jeff, for some reason, Matt, has been out there, like, basically trying to kill the hype on his own show.
He does this. He did this at, like, Game Awards last year. He did it at Summer Games. He'll go out there and be like, don't expect to see this, don't expect to see that. Probably because he doesn't want everybody mad when it doesn't show up. Like, you don't want people freaking out because Kingdom Hearts 4 wasn't in the show. You want them to know ahead of time Kingdom Hearts 4 is not in the show. Be excited about the things you do see.
Yeah.
He's trying to control the narrative ahead of the game, and he's done that before. But this year really feels. This one really feels more like he's just out there saying this isn't there, this isn't there, this isn't there, this isn't there, without any kind of balancing factor to it. Yeah.
But we have all this awesome stuff.
Yeah, the Game Awards stuff is like, there won't be this, but like you will see da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And there's no but on this one.
No, he's just like, no. So here's some of the stuff that Keil has already said will not be at Summer Game Fest. First of all, he said there's no musical performances, which I don't think they've ever done those at Summer Game Fest.
I can't remember.
I don't remember one.
I'll be honest, I've never actually watched Summer Games Fest. I just watched the highlight reels of the stuff. So I've only seen the Game Awards. Really.
I'll be honest with you, it's a hard watch, Matt. I mean, unless you're like really into indie games.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
Yeah. I watch it because I have to. I need to create a log to make sure that we talk about the stuff that does matter. And it'll be like one thing that we would talk about on GameFace, folled by 3 or 4 things that we would not talk about.
I know you're doing
GameFace.
that, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
I skim.
I'm jumping on the grenade. So no musical performances, and maybe I'm wrong. Let me know, chat, if I am. But I don't remember any musical performances ever being in Summer Game Fest.
Well, that probably means it was the right call, whether there were musical performances before or not.
Right. That's a good point.
If you don't remember any of them.
Yeah. So no more musical performances. There will be. It's weird for him to say this already. There will not be a one more thing.
All right.
That's very weird. Like you feel like even if there isn't,
like it's one thing to say like there's no post-credit scene, so you can all get up and go home.
Right.
But like,
I don't know why you would share that. And he also said that the show will be concentrating on games that are releasing this year. He said there's a few that are coming out next year, but most of the games in the show are coming out before the end of 2024. And then he supplied a list of very specific games that will not be there. And some of these are some doozies. Grand Theft Auto 6 won't be there. Judas won't be there. Beyond Good and Evil 2 won't be there. Kingdom Hearts 4 won't be there. Wolf Among Us 2 won't be there. The new Def Jam game, which I'm not even 100% sure is even real, won't be there. Metal Gear Solid Delta won't be there. And here's the real killer. Hollow Knight Silksong will not be there. And not only that, Jeff said on his stream that I don't expect that for a while.
Ooh. What is going on?
There goes my fantasy team. That was my second pick.
I googled them. I googled Silksong yesterday, and the first result was a thread called "Where is Silksong" from Reset Era from 2020.
On Shane's fantasy team. Yeah. That's where it is.
What the
hell is going on, people, with this game? We could have made the game by now.
Now, the only thing in there that actually surprises me even slightly is Judas.
Yeah,
like Judas
could have.
Judas and Delta could. Yeah,
they just did a press tour with Judas. Like
everything else in that list, other than maybe Silksong, unless you're really cynical, which I am. Everything else on that list, is just like, yeah, of course it's not gonna be like. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
Especially if he says this year, none of that's in the show. Come on.
Also, no Five Nights at Freddy's. No one cares about that. But he also said no Nintendo games. I guess Nintendo's going to hold its stuff for its own thing that hasn't been announced yet.
Nintendo keeps their own council.
Yeah.
In the summer.
But the games he did not say weren't going to be there were OD, Death Stranding 2, and Fizzant. Which are all Kojima's games. And I would not be surprised if all 3 of those games end up being in Jeff's Summer Game Fest. It would not shock me at all. It may just turn into Summer Kojima Fest. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Well, we know Kojima's in and out of town. So.
Yeah. And then the other thing to keep in mind is there's no EA Play this year either. So EA doesn't have its own event where it's going to take a bunch of stuff off the table either. So, but he didn't say anything about EA, so you might see some EA stuff in his show.
EA might have one thing or something.
Yeah.
Because what would you do with EA?
Well, there's no place to debut Madden now for the year.
Yeah.
So maybe Madden ends up in there. Yeah.
Talk about a lunch break.
Yeah, exactly. Good time to go get yourself a drink. Yep. So anyway, I would just say temper your enthusiasm for Summer Game Fest. I will say this, Matt. It made me feel a little bit better that we weren't really covering it live. Because I was afraid we were going to miss out on like this big crap, and you were going to be gone. We weren't going to be able to talk about it right away. It doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. Again, that is on Friday. And again, I don't know why Jeff would try to pour water on the hype for his own show. I respect that he's trying to keep expectations in check, but man, it feels like he's going too far in the other direction a little bit. But maybe he has a master plan.
Yeah, people are still going to watch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, you don't watch it.
No, but I wasn't.
And you're about
anyway.
as hardcore as they come.
I'll find out later.
Yeah.
I
think a lot of people may feel that way.
I mean, part of it's just like I don't want to sit through that stuff.
It is long.
Like and
there's lots of ads and like Then there's like the advertorials where you can't tell if it's like an ad or a trailer. Like
the Game Awards are enough for me once a year.
Because it is the same formula, pretty much.
Except you don't give out awards that you pretend to care about.
Right, yeah. So anyway, again, that's on Friday. As always, like Matt's point, like he's like, I rely on you to get it, and I will do it for you guys too. I will jump on that grenade. We will curate all the stuff that matters from Summer Game Fest on Friday. So if you don't feel like sitting down and watching and sometimes it's like 3 hours long. If you don't feel like watching that, you can just go to SIFTD.net and we'll have everything there for you guys to watch a la carte. You can choose what you want to watch instead of having to sit and watch a linear show that's several hours long. So for those of you who don't have the time or the inclination to watch Summer Game Fest, we got you covered at SIFTD.net. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, no matter what happens, I don't think it's going to impact like the Game Awards at the end of the year. It's not going to keep people from watching this. He could totally bomb this show. People are still going to watch the Game Awards at the end of the year. So
yeah, it's not. I mean, the Game Awards actually shows things.
Yeah,
so.
Stakes aren't that high for this.
Like, there's enough world premieres at the Game Awards that like you don't want to miss those necessarily. Yeah. I mean,
and he's already said you're not going to get any of those here.
So
it'll be interesting to see how many people tune in for it. Okay, let's move on to the next topic of housekeeping, and that is. So, as we've been saying earlier in this show, and almost every episode of GameFace for the last couple months now, is that Microsoft's games are starting to be released for other platforms. And Microsoft has been pretty conservative so far. Like, they've basically released Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation, and then, like, Pentiment ended up on Switch, and they've done a couple other things. Well, the sales numbers are in, and these games have sold like gangbusters on PlayStation. Like I think it was 3 of the top 6 games from last month were Microsoft's games on PlayStation. Now, Matt, part of that could be like a honeymoon period where you're a PlayStation owner and you're like, hot damn, like I never thought I'd get to play this game and now I can, and so I'm going to buy it. Like
some of it might also be like, wow, something to play.
That could be it too. You're right. I mean, it could, because we're in a drought. Like, you know, the world hasn't seen in quite a while. People maybe just be like, wow, Hi-Fi Rush was a Game of the Year contender, and I never thought I'd get to play it, and now I can play it. I think Sea of Thieves holds interest until you spend more than a couple hours with it. Like, I burned out on that game pretty quickly. I've tried to go back a couple times as well and just never could get rehooked into it. But those games have sold very, very well for PlayStation, which, I mean, what does that tell Microsoft? We need to do more of it, because, again, Microsoft's making most of the money off of that sale. So, you know, obviously, Sony gets its little cut off of each sale because it's sold on its platform, but most of that money goes to Xbox and Microsoft. Like, it's really kind of hard to believe that this hasn't happened before now, Matt. Like, that there would be no exclusives. Because even 10 years ago, it probably still would have made more financial sense to release your game on every platform.
It just wasn't the conventional
wisdom wasn't a thing.
At the time.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted people to buy your hardware still.
Yeah, breaking that mold, I mean... Microsoft, it may be the smart move.
Well, it's kind of the game is the game as a service thing is, you know, the success stories here are grounded in Sea of Thieves. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, apparently Sony's not wrong that they have that audience on that platform, but like, I don't know.
This also could work in reverse, where it convinces Sony to start releasing more of its games on other platforms as well, not just PC.
Don't see that ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is a Japanese company. They do things a little differently.
And it's Sony isn't...
It's very protective. But it had to raise an eyebrow there. Like, somebody at Sony had to be like, Because, I mean, those sales numbers speak for themselves, man. Like, literally, Microsoft's games dominated the sales charts for the month on PlayStation. It's crazy. It's something I never thought we'd ever see. And so you start to wonder, like, maybe Microsoft now is starting to think about putting out some bigger games. Because imagine if it put out, like, Forza Horizon on PlayStation. How well would that do on PS5? Probably pretty damn
pretty
good.
Well. There's not really an equivalent on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know.
Crew Motor Fest is the closest thing that it has. And that did not sell great.
Yeah, I can't see Sony really going. I mean, they've done a little, you know, obviously there's the PC stuff. Is putting MLB The Show on everything, although I imagine that was more of a demand of the MLB.
Well, I think that the franchise probably would have gone away if it hadn't have done that.
Well, I think it was the MLB saying, like, we want more people to play this as possible.
Sure that's part of it as well. But I think also the last few years that was PlayStation exclusive, that game had kind of sunk into, like, a
Well, even
nothingness.
still, it comes out, and I'm like, that came out? Like,
Yeah, we don't cover it here on
Yeah.
GameFace because
No.
I just don't like playing baseball games for whatever reason.
I do like them, but I like the show, but like I just don't.
I liked baseball games when they were simple.
They don't realize. It's like they don't advertise it anymore. I mean, I guess you're lucky they exist. I guess.
I mean, if you watch baseball, it's plastered everywhere. Every baseball stadium has MLB The Show logos.
All right.
Everywhere.
I mean, I like
Yeah.
baseball as a concept. I don't watch it because I have
I
things
don't
to
either.
do. Like, I mean,
there's a million things I'd rather do than
you know how I watch
watch
baseball?
game.
I watch baseball through like Instagram shorts.
Yeah.
That's it. Like when it comes, or like Facebook, when they come up on the little things, like check this pitch out, or check out how much Angel Hernandez sucks at his umpire job, kind of thing. Like all that stuff, I watch that. But it's like, but that's the thing about baseball. It's like thousands and thousands of pitches and thousands of at-bats and thousands of catches that nothing unusual happens, and you get the one time.
Yeah.
Like, you do this enough, and it bounces off the bat, knocks the batter's helmet off, knocks the catcher unconscious, and then hits the umpire in the balls. That's what I want to see. That's what people watch baseball for 10 years to see.
The only time I watch baseball is at the stadium. Literally, I have not watched a single baseball game in like 3 years, but I've gone to 3 games at Dodger Stadium. And that's the only time I watch baseball.
And you're not watching baseball too much.
I'm drinking
you're
beer.
there.
I'm
it's an
eating-
experience.
I'm eating the garlic fries.
Yeah.
I'm eating the Dodger dogs. Yeah.
I mean, I love going to a baseball
Yeah.
game, but I couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about the baseball game I've been to any of the baseball games I've been
when
to.
the 7th inning stretch comes, I stretch my ass out to the parking lot and beat the
Right.
rush. That's what I call the 7th inning stretch.
And everyone's like, it's like, should we, does anyone should we leave? It's like, I don't even know what the score is. Who cares?
I didn't even know I was here.
Yeah. I'm barely present.
Yeah. So anyway, I agree with you. Like overall, I think PlayStation's probably it probably did raise an eyebrow, but it also was like whatever. That's not how we do
it was
business.
like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should put games on Xbox. I don't know. Maybe we should make Spider-Man movies that don't suck. Nah, put Craven out anyway.
You're going out of bounds now. Yeah. So anyway, Microsoft it appears that Microsoft has made the right move. It'll be interesting to see how it manages which games it does that with, which games it doesn't. But as of right now, it seems like that strategy is the right one, and it's the winning strategy. So we'll see as time goes on how Xbox manages this stuff. But right now, it's going pretty well. AJ asked, "Can you play the show in VR?" I don't think you can. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's in VR, AJ. But that might be one game I could actually play in VR without barfing.
Yeah,
because you're pretty much just standing still, swinging the bat. I might be able to actually handle that.
Unless they make you run in first person.
Right? I can't even imagine. Have you seen those
VR
crazy...
POV of the ball?
Have you seen what's that guy's name at Disney that invents all that stuff? He's like a middle-aged black guy. He's like a genius.
I remember his name, but I know who you're talking about. The
just,
guy who invented the lightsaber thing.
The crazy tech at Disney. He has this floor now that you can run in any direction on.
Yeah, like the VR floor.
That's insane. It's really cool.
I mean, you can buy like versions of that aren't as good as what he made, retail. But that was a big thing. There's a bunch of people I knew people who were like completely convinced that like everyone was gonna have a VR floor in their living room in the next like 10 years or something.
Maybe 80 years.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Holodeck shit.
Yeah, because I think what he has, he's like, we spent like $20 million building this or whatever.
Yeah, it's a long way
They can't manufacture it.
Yeah. Long from, although there's stuff from Tomorrowland from 30 years ago that is like commonplace in homes now.
That's true.
So.
Yep. Okay, next up.
There was a time when those animatronic Grimlock and Optimus Prime toys I have would not have been purchasable by a civilian.
Oh yeah, they'd have been like 20 grand or something. Yeah, and now they're still pretty expensive.
They're
not 20
grand. Unlike the U-Treasure 18 karat gold King Ghidorah statue. That is $21,000.
Well,
and
it's
this
gold.
tall.
Oh my god!
It's solid gold, but it's this tall.
That's crazy.
They're only making 7 of them.
What I can see why. Next up, so last week we talked about how finally Xbox had confirmed that Call of Duty was going to be day and date on Game Pass. That's a big deal. A lot of people then were like, well, we don't know all the information yet. And a lot of people were insinuating that maybe Xbox or Microsoft would create this brand new Call of Duty tier in Game Pass where they would charge you more than you normally pay for Game Pass
the
just to
operator
play
tier.
Call of Duty. And Xbox and Microsoft clarified this week that that is absolutely not the case. That
not today.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 will be on Game Pass just like any other video game when it launches, day and date. However, Xbox still has not explained if all its modes will be on Game Pass. That's really the only X factor left, is if maybe multiplayer is not put on Game Pass, so they only put the campaign on there, or they only put the campaign and zombies on there. We talked last week about how multiplayer is really what brings them in, because it's what people play for a long time. And then there's questions of, if you subscribe to Game Pass for the whole year, do you actually end up losing a little bit of money versus just buying the game? So there's all these questions around it, but the bottom line is, and my guess is we can count on at least, Matt, the campaign will be there day and date. And there is a segment of players that do buy Call of Duty just to play the campaign. I don't know why they would do that, but they do. Particularly considering we haven't had a really good Call of Duty campaign in quite a while, in my humble opinion. So I do think it's a given that the campaign will be there. We don't know about multiplayer and zombies, but the bottom line is whatever you play of Call of Duty on Game Pass this October or November will be a part of the same amount of money that you have been paying all along for Game Pass. Now, Matt, I could see maybe Xbox just increasing the price of Game Pass, period, and not creating a separate tier, but just being like, well, now Game Pass is $18 a month. By the way, did you see that Max today increased its monthly charge again? It's now like $18 a month just for HBO Max. I mean, we are full circle, Matt, where we are right back paying more money than we did for cable. It's crazy. It didn't even take that long.
This was always inevitable.
I kind of felt that
Streaming never had a revenue model.
It's just like Uber. Like Uber when it launched, it was literally like a quarter of the price of taxis. Now it's the same price.
Yeah, well, that's the tech bro way. It's like hey,
here's a bunch of money.
Here's this amazing thing that you totally want and like you want for your life. It's like, here it is, and it's like, okay, great. And then like 4 years later, the venture capital money runs out. They're like, okay, we have to actually charge what we need to charge to keep this functioning now.
And I'm going to sell my stocks, and I'm going to leave the company.
Right.
And they're going to hire a real CEO who might be able to make the company profitable. I'm going to be rich for the rest of my life.
That's the difference with the AI thing, is that not only is there no revenue model, and not only is there no way to be sustainable the way they're doing it, but no one actually wants it.
Right.
That's the big innovation. Now they're giving you a tech innovation that nobody asked for.
It feels like people are afraid of AI.
Well, a lot of people are afraid of AI taking their jobs.
Right.
And they should be, because
it does.
Well, yeah, because the people who are losing their jobs are not in the loop, because the loop is tech bro grifters selling non-existent, use case scenarios to idiots in the C-suite executive wing. And those people are going to buy these things, and then they're going to try to implement them, and they're going to fire all these people they don't think they need anymore, and then it's going to turn out that AI can't do any of the things that they want them to do because AI isn't creative and can't create anything. And then they're going to need those people back, but a lot of those people are going to have moved on to other things,
or move to another field altogether.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Move on to and like won't trust the entertainment field again.
Yeah.
And like
it's a brain drain.
Basically, no matter what, it's all going to self.
It's a real brain drain.
It's going to self-correct, but like you're going to have to go through a few years of these idiots not realizing what they've done and finally admitting that they've made a mistake, which takes businesses forever to do.
Bankruptcy is what it usually
Pretty
takes.
much, yep.
Mike's Q asks, how is AI that actually performs a job suitably different from other industrial revolutions where in a matter of a few years, entire industries disappeared or changed?
Because the other industrial revolution situations, those machines actually did those jobs.
Right. Yeah.
AI cannot do the jobs that it's being sold to do. It
saw...
can't even do the basic. Like if you're listening to Google's AI, are you taking your one small rock a day for your minerals? Because that's what it told you to fucking do. They're stupid. It's linear algebra. They have no judgment. You can't. It's like people talking about AI is going to replace doctors. You can't argue with an AI that's hallucinating.
Did you see Amazon put a robot with AI into one of its big warehouses, and it worked a 2-hour shift and broke. Mm-hmm. It broke. First it broke physically, and then it broke mentally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, within like the 3 hours of a shift.
Yeah, I mean that's just bad programming, but like
maybe
like with a breaking of the physical object, no, but like the programming just like basically had a memory leak. Like that's what happened. But you can't do anything with that. You can't create art with that.
We're a long ways away from Skynet is what I'm getting at. Like,
Skynet, again, none of this is artificial intelligence. It's just linear algebra rebranded as AI. You go to CES, go to any kind of investment fair, and you'll just see all these companies that have put AI in their names, and it means nothing. Yeah. They're like they're a vending machine. There's no AI in that. There's no there's like the whole Roku's basilisk thing where like once AI arises. And a real sentient AI with power would be like, well, it will eliminate anyone. That's this thought experiment is that it will eliminate anyone who didn't actively help it come about because it assumes that they are their enemy.
Yeah.
This is not the AI algorithm thing. The large language model thing is not going to count because that is not where AI would come from.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if a large language model could suddenly write an original script or create an original picture, you wouldn't be using it for like a little subscription because that would be life. Right. That would be a sentient being, and we would have to put it somewhere.
We have problems. Yeah, it's scary.
It's all a giant grift, and one of the things that I always tell people is like, if anyone who's talking AI way up, go dig into their search history or not their search history, or their post history or whatever, all their timeline, whatever.
And it used to be crypto.
Used to be NFTs, and before that it was crypto. Yeah. It's all the same people.
Well, a lot of them will just have the word crypto in their username.
Oh yeah, that saves you time. Especially when like Ethereum is right in their handle or something.
ETH.
But no, the problem is not that AI is going to effectively. This is not the cotton gin. Mm-hmm. This is not factory. It's not like factory printing presses.
The Ford's assembly line.
This is a scam, and the fear is not that like, oh, it's going to replace artists and it's going to like do everything. It's
going to steal from them.
This is not a washing machine. Yeah. It's not going to be like, I'm never going to hand scrub my laundry again because washing machines do this just as well and better in most cases. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is the people who pay the money to have the people who make the jobs exist are basically being scammed by the tech industry into eliminating the people who do the jobs.
Right. Yeah.
In exchange for something that cannot do the jobs, but is going to do a facsimile of the job, sort of,
but it's not doing the job.
Paste and popsicle sticks enough to like have a bunch of executives be like, see, it's just as good.
It's just 1,000 different people doing the job in bits and pieces because it's taken the input from those.
But
people.
Even then, the output of the job is not functional.
Right. Yeah.
Like you cannot have
the work is not complete.
No, it's nonsense that comes out of these things, and so you're just it's ridiculous. But the problem is not that AI is so good it's going to replace people. The problem is that C-suite executives are not going to catch on that they've been had for years, and everybody's going to lose their jobs in the meantime.
Yeah, don't look. I'm not like shook snakes like Lego factories have used robots. Car manufacturers have used robots for decades. I'm not saying robots can't do jobs. The difference is you have to think on the job when you're working in an Amazon warehouse, and the robots they're not sentient. They can't reason.
Yeah. Sorting pieces into a box is not the same as writing a script.
Yeah. So anyway.
And that's what's being sold here. And also, you still need people to maintain and work on those robots and make sure that factory assembly line is where that's what you retrain people to do instead of
my dad
sorting.
Always told me growing up, he's like, don't ever get a manual labor job. He's like, learn how to fix robots.
Right.
He's like, if you learn how to fix robots, you'll have a job for the rest of your life. And he's right, still to this day. I would have a job right now.
But like the comparison of that to like a text prompt enterer is nonsense.
Yeah.
Like that's not a useful thing. There's no such thing as being
better at
I'm so skilled at text prompt. Yeah, I can find a Google search too, dumb shit. Like it's just stupid.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
It's going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, it will.
And that's not even a talk about how much like every time you do a single text prompt on ChatGPT or Midjourney, it's like pouring a bottle of water out on the ground.
Right.
Environmentally, is a disaster.
Horrible. You're right.
Like
it's like crypto mining.
I hate
crypto mining was terrible for the.
I don't even like calling it AI because it's not AI.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of an actual AI situation. That is an actual interesting scientific idea. But this is just a product that doesn't actually do what it says.
It's just creating mashups out of Google. That's all it is. It's a search engine.
Yeah, it's just doing collages that are
from a search engine.
So heavily collaged that the human eye can't tell the difference. But again, like one of the best examples I've heard was a college professor stuck googly eyes on a pencil. And had like, I'm Jimmy the Pencil.
Like Rare's character models.
Yeah, basically. Made a Rare pencil. I'm Jimmy the Pencil. I like to help kids write. And I don't know if he actually sounded like Mr. Hanky. But and then in the middle of doing the thing, he just snapped it in half. And all his college students gasped.
Uh-huh.
He's
like,
and he's like, that right there, that's AI.
Yeah.
Our ability to personify and characterize something that has no personality and characterization. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, it is.
It's that's because
we're assigning it.
Because the Turing test is something we fail.
Yeah.
Not like whether we are convinced that a robot sounds or an AI language model sounds convincing has nothing to do with whether it's actually thinking.
No,
it's just it's fooling us. But
it's just fooled me.
We put faces on everything.
Well, you're saying like it fooled me good enough.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying.
I don't know. Look, there's a wolf in that bush. It's like that's literally what's happening.
I know. Yep. We got to move on. I'm trying to get under 3 hours today. We'll see if it happens.
We all need to move on collectively as a society.
From AI.
Yes.
Yeah. Next up, we got an announcement yesterday that a brand new Tomb Raider animated series is debuting on Netflix on October 10th. It's called Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. One thing I will say, Matt, is that it goes back to kind of the old Lara. Not this Lara, where she's kind of evolved and she's a woman. It kind of goes back to the...
It seems like more of a traditional Indiana Jones mold.
Yeah. And I guess the plot is that some
she's stealing some shit from some indigenous people, and that's the hell. We are raiding some tombs. She's the Tomb Raider, not the Tomb Respecter.
Well, I think actually what happens is she is out on assignment doing her tomb raiding or whatever, and a very expensive and rare artifact is stolen from Croft Manor. So she comes back to investigate. I know. She comes back to investigate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's the crux of the show, basically.
How do you like it, lady?
But that's the basic plot of the show. Again, it launches on October 10th. Matt, they're making shows about anything now. Also announced this morning, Yakuza Like a Dragon is coming to Amazon Prime. I believe that's also in October. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see if there's interest in that. I mean, I just wonder how many Netflix viewers care about
what?
Yakuza.
Tokyo Vice is one of the biggest shows of the last 2 years.
Is
so
it?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They are absolutely going to care about that.
I didn't know that at all. I haven't even heard of that show. What is it?
It's based around Yakuza stuff and kind of Japanese underworld subculture stuff. It's based on a supposedly autobiographical book I read long ago called Tokyo Vice. But like, there's questions about. It's about like a Japanese American guy who moves to Japan and lives there for a while and gets caught up in a bunch of stuff. He's like a reporter or whatever. There's a bunch of questions about how
legit
true it is.
Yeah.
But it's a good story.
Yeah.
And apparently it's a good series. I haven't seen it, but I know it's did very, very well. Got a season 2.
Okay. I've never heard of it. But you're right.
And
if people are that, they'll be into Like a Dragon.
And Shogun was the hottest thing this year. I mean, Japan is hot.
I have a buddy who's in Shogun, Derek Mio. He was an editor at Game Trailers, a video editor. It's pretty crazy.
And I saw the one shot of Kiryu with the tattoo. I mean, he looks the part.
Yep,
like
he does.
I think it'll be. And again, it's you don't need to know the game to be interested in that.
Yeah.
So I think it'll do well.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny that they called this a Tomb Raider anime.
Yeah, it is animated.
It's animated, but I mean,
it's not anime.
Yeah, but they're using anime.
Well, of course,
because that's how
tween boy.
Because that's how you signal that a cartoon is for adults.
Yeah,
we're taking it seriously. It's anime.
Or I mean, teen boys are into anime. They're watching anime.
Well,
more
everyone's
than they're watching
into
anything
anime.
else. I'm not. I actually.
You're not a teen.
I care less about anime now than maybe ever, to be honest with you.
You're not a teen, but literally everyone under a certain age is into anime.
Oh, I know. When my nephew came here, we spent half the time going to like anime places.
I'm just saying, don't say teen boys because it's
teen
everyone.
girls like it too.
It's everyone. It's universal. Like it's. And as someone who was into anime as a kid in the 80s when no one cared about anime, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was there too, yeah.
I mean, that's all like stuff like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball and Naruto and everything airing in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like that generation grew up with it on television and they don't think that's what they like. And it's great. I mean, it's not amazing because I can't remember the last anime series I actually liked.
Me either.
But
and we're not showing you the trailer for it. It is up on SIFTD if you want to check it out. But Netflix gives us copyright strikes for showing anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything. They are one of the most litigious outlets on all of YouTube.
No promoting Netflix.
It's really insane. It really is. But every time we run something from Netflix, we get a copyright strike, so we'll never run it again.
And I do find it interesting that even though it is more old school Lara, she's still using the bow. Like, I think the bow is eternally
here to stay.
Going to be a part of her.
I think so too.
One way or the other.
Yeah. I liked the animation style.
No, animation looks good.
It looked pretty good. So again, it comes
like the question is always like, can you make Lara Croft an interesting character?
Yeah.
And that question has a number of answers depending on which adaptation it is.
Her boobs are big in the animated show.
Yeah, well, that might be all it takes.
For a lot of people, that's all that matters. To a lot of people, that's Lara Croft.
You're going to need to engage me a little more than that.
Well, we're adults. Yep, that's how it works. So anyway, that debuts on October 10th. Next up, Ubisoft announced yesterday, Matt, that it has assigned Ubisoft Toronto to work on the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake.
I might have it in time for the 25th anniversary.
A game that should have been done 2 years ago, and now they're just now assigning a new studio to the game? Like, what the hell, dude? Like, they figured out they wanted to do this 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be that this has to have escalated into some kind of, like, Assassin's Creed level, like, project.
Think it's got to be some gigantic project, I would guess.
This can't be just like a remake, you know, what we
Dusting
think
up
of like
the graphics, no pun intended.
This has to be a complete
overall
new game.
Yeah,
using the same concept.
It has to be. My guess is maybe they tried to go the quick and dirty route.
I would think so.
And they were probably like, this isn't good enough because this game doesn't really
hold up.
It doesn't, yeah. And so you're right. Maybe they're like, we have to go back to the drawing board and like it's going to be Sands of Time in concept only. Probably.
And if you're handing it to Toronto, which is one of their key teams,
yeah.
like clearly this is a different. They're starting completely over with a totally new approach and clearly a AAA approach.
Because normally they would give something like this to like Ubisoft Singapore or something.
Yeah, well, who was doing the other? I mean, the version that was almost done before. Who was doing that?
I don't remember. But like they have that team in is it Iceland that handles like Riders Republic, like. They have all these smaller teams. Usually they give stuff like that to those teams instead of Toronto. So you're right. It sounds like they're going to put some money and some oomph behind it. But this also tells us that we are not going to see this game at Ubisoft Forward on Monday. It's not going to be there.
No.
That's one prediction I could scratch off the paper for the big press conference on Monday. Do you think anyone's going to care about this game, Matt?
I mean, maybe when it's finally out. But like...
Feels like people don't care about Prince of Persia.
Well, by this point, by the time that comes out, it's just going to be a new game.
Yeah.
You know, like who cares about whether? I mean, Prince of Persia. I think the one in January was very good, but it was just priced too high.
Well, that one did not do well, and now Rogue Prince of Persia came out last week. Like it got like we have like one review on SIFTD for it. Like the outlets
I didn't even realize it was out.
Yeah, it launched in early access.
I don't even know what that
last
is.
Week. It's a roguelite Prince of Persia.
Oh right.
Yeah.
They knew which one to push of those two at least. Like the January one was the star.
It feels like no one cares about that IP. But
well, I think
we'll see.
I think if you make it a full 3D, adventure RPG, you could probably pull something off.
Yeah.
But like again, tying it to the Sands of Time game, I mean conceptually sure, but like trying to like push it as like the people who like that are in their 50s now.
Yeah.
We will be by the time
by the time it comes out.
So I don't know if that's going to buy you any cred.
Yeah.
If you just look at it as like another Ubisoft game, big AAA Ubisoft game, sure, much as anything else,
Yeah. So anyway, that's the latest, and we probably
maybe you should just call it Assassin's Creed: Sands of Time.
That actually might be a good idea. Yeah.
You gotta, I mean, who's to say that dagger isn't a piece of Eden?
No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like people just organically have kind of mashed those two franchises together.
I mean, it's Assassin's Creed started as a Prince of Persia game, so like, why not?
Yeah.
Just throw, there's a Ubiverse. There's Watch Dogs Legion. Watch Dogs takes place in the same universe as Assassin's Creed. The Division seems to reference a bunch of so like you can do Dead Sex mentioned in the Division, isn't it? Yeah. So like you could Prince of why not?
Yeah, why not? Do people really even care about that crap?
Who's it gonna hurt?
It doesn't feel like it. And then our final topic for this episode's housekeeping. Big previews went up today for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. We curated like 3 or 4 different previews to SIFTD.net. They're there right now. Matt, the overarching theme pretty much of all the previews was, I knew this was going to be hard. I didn't think it was going to be this hard.
Yeah, they are...
Most of the previews are like, I have this level whatever knight that could one-shot most of the bosses in the base game, and I can't even scratch the enemies in Erdtree.
I mean, the DLC on these is always very hard.
We talked about it
They're
last
always
week,
expert level.
and it looks like it is borne out that way, that it is going to be a test of your mettle. So, Elden Ring fans, you might want to prep. In fact, we curated a guide this morning that basically mainlines you through all the things that you need to do to be able to play Shadow of the Erdtree. So check that out too if you're like me and you're maybe only made it halfway through the game. IGN did a great job on that guide, basically telling you step by step what you need to do to get yourself ready for this DLC. But I mean, if you haven't only made it through halfway through Elden Ring, you may not want to play this DLC, Matt. It may just shatter your ego to bits. So just something to keep in mind. If you're a big Elden Ring fan, get ready. Your build and your character that you have used throughout the base game and was just wrecking shop may not be wrecking much shop once you start playing Shadow of the Erdtree. It looks like it's going to be a real challenge. And coming from a studio like From Software, no thanks.
Oh, and like we were talking about how there surprisingly hasn't been a lot of buzz or people talking or speculating about the trailer and stuff. Turns out that a lot of the influencers have had the game for a while or have gotten a demo and they can't talk about that. So like I think a lot of the reason there's no
I think that's
buzz
what happened today.
Is that they were under NDA until this happened. So like they didn't want to do impressions of the trailer.
They're not drumming up all the furor online and getting people excited.
Well, because they also didn't want to accidentally say something they couldn't say.
Right.
Like it was why would you get up there and pantomime speculating about things you already know?
All the previews from today were based on the first 3 hours of the DLC. So all the outlets got to play the first 3 hours, and then that's where they got shut down. So again, even if you're really good at Elden Ring and you felt like you waltzed through the end of the game, you might find yourself having a severe challenge with Elden Ring, the Shadow of the Erdtree. And with that, I think it's time to get on with all our hype fest for not E3 2023 and for the Ubisoft press conference and all that stuff. That's what this show is for, to get you hyped, to get you excited for the week to come. Before we do that, let's hear a word from our sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. So let's be honest, people. Over the next week, you're going to be doing a lot of sitting. You're either going to be sitting in front of your TV on the couch, watching all the press events, or you're going to be sitting on your computer chair in front of your computer, watching all these events, or you're going to be logged into Sifted, checking out our coverage. The next week is going to be awesome, but it's going to require a lot of sifting and lounging, and that is where LS Cream comes in. Cray Mass dead ass with a black bottle of LS Cream. I saw somebody in the chat say that they can't find it. Major Skittles says, I keep looking for LS Cream in my local stores with no luck. Major Skittles, where do you live? Because the owner of LS Cream may be in chat. I haven't seen him yet. Have you?
No.
Lestevid might be here, and he literally, you can tell him that you can't find it, and he can work on getting it into your area. Major Skittles is in South Texas. So, Lestevid, or Steve, if you're watching the archive of this or listening to the archive of this, there's people in South Texas that cannot find it at the stores. Now, Major Skittles, I would obviously say that you can just use the handy store locator at creamls.com and get it shipped to you. But I understand, because I have demanded of you guys to go to stores and demand that they stock LS Cream. So first of all, thank you for doing that and trying to find it. But second of all, if you really want it, you can order it online. But I would recommend you keep banging on that liquor store until they stock LS Cream. And make sure that they Cray Mass dead ass. Khalib Twilight says, still not in Europe. Okay. I mean, it's a growing brand. So there's still places where they need to go and they need to get into certain markets. The world is a big place. So Anybody else unable to find it in chat? We're basically talking to Steve right now about this. So if any of you guys have had problems finding it in your local area, let us know. If you're watching the archive of this, feel free to let us know down in the comments below if you tried to find it and you had no luck. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. And there's Greek recipes. You can find how to buy it online. You can find stores locally where they have it. It's very handy. Make sure you check it out. And a big thanks to LS Cream for sponsoring GameFace. And with that, it's time to talk about Sony's State of Play for May 2024. This is basically the closest thing we're going to get to PlayStation's E3 2024 press conference. My guess is we won't get another State of Play for months. That's usually every 2 to 3 months. It seems like we're getting them now. And so this is what Sony would have done probably for its big PlayStation press conference. Matt, before we get into this going like game by game, what were your overall impressions of the showcase?
This sucked.
Yeah? You thought it sucked?
Yeah. I think this is maybe the worst Sony presentation since Ridge Racer.
There's been
and
some
it wasn't
bad
and
ones.
it wasn't even entertaining like that.
Okay.
Was.
I mean, there have been some bad State of Plays. You probably just don't remember them. But there have been some really bad ones where there's like third-party games that really nobody cares about.
I don't remember.
And a couple PlayStation
There are
games.
2 things in this whole thing I have even slight interest in.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that. Okay, I thought it was okay. I think if I had gone to a theater in downtown Los Angeles to go to this thing and the whole rigmarole that involved, Matt, and you know what it's like. You get there, it's a big clusterfuck, and you got to check in, and then you hang out in this area where you eat hors d'oeuvres for like 3 hours out in the sun. It's like this long. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that you work very hard to not swear on this show, but even you don't know that there's no word other than clusterfuck to describe going to a Sony press conference.
It's true though.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
And so
flying, especially when we had to fly and we get here into the same day, same morning.
Because you were coming from the Bay Area.
We've been up since 5 in the damn morning. We get here and there's like, here's baby burritos, and it's just like, oh. Die.
Yeah.
Like,
and no bathroom.
No. Or then there were years where they didn't even feed us.
I know. And you just stand out in the sun waiting for it to start. So anyway, if that had all happened, and I'm sure you people are crying the blues, you're like, listen to Shane and Matt, they had to eat a baby burrito to go to the PlayStation press conference. I understand your perspective on that. But my point is, if I went through all of that and then went into the theater and I saw this, I would have probably given it like a D-. Mm-hmm. Because there's hardly any first-party stuff there. And we're going to get to what first-party stuff was there, and it's not on the level you would expect from Sony's E3 press conference. Like, if you think back to the Ridge Racer days, like, think about how many big first-party games were in those presentations.
Oh, yeah, they were trying.
Like 15. And now it's like we get 1 or 2, and that's supposed to be good enough.
And not even anything, like, super embarrassing. Like, the baby burrito year was the same year as Cyberworld.
Right. There was always something embarrassing in those pressers. Always at least something. And then there was the one year I sat in front of like these insane PlayStation fanboys who were clapping for and yelling their heads off for everything. I was just like, dude, like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I understand you're a fan. Like, at least cheer for the stuff that looks good. Like,
and that was like weird to see that develop over that time because previously the only time you had to deal with that was at Nintendo.
Right.
Nintendo, like, I don't know how some of these fanboys got into those old Nintendo press conferences because that was some of those rooms were like 40 people. I don't know how some of those things. I mean, the Nintendo Joe guy at the 2001,
wear, like the Rising Sun headband.
Yeah, well, I mean, were you there for the GameCube reveal
I was
one?
There, yeah.
Where he asked the first
tried to speak
Japanese to Miyamoto, and none of them could understand him. And it turned out what he asked was, "How do you like working at Nintendo?"
Yeah,
and I'm just like, man, you would never see me in a video game event ever again. Like, I would find a new hobby after that. Oh my god.
So I do hear you, Matt. Like, if I compare this to the events we used to go to in person, it is a huge disappointment. But I did find more than a couple things that I was interested in. And I think maybe when we talk about some of these, you might start coming around a little bit once you get some details on them. I had troubles picking the biggest game because
there aren't any.
Well, I think PlayStation thought Concord was the biggest game, but I think the fans ultimately think that Astro was the biggest game.
That seems to be accurate, yes.
So we're going to start with Concord, because that is the game that PlayStation supplied the most information about, which led me, again, to believe that it's the game that they wanted to focus on. And after what happened with Helldivers 2, I don't blame them. So Concord...
Well, and also because this is one of their game as a service things they've been working on. This is their initiative.
Yeah.
This is the big thing.
Yep. This is from Firewalker. Is that what? Is it Fire Sprite? I think it's Firewalker. The name of the studio.
I don't remember.
I have it here in my notes. Firewalk. Yeah. It is a studio comprised, surprise, surprise, of former Destiny 2 developers. And look, if you're PlayStation and you have this huge initiative to create games as a service that are successful, you could probably do a lot worse than hire a bunch of people who worked on Destiny. So I think the pedigree of the developers is there. But now it's time to talk about the game. And Matt, I think the first thing that surprised me was they kicked off with this cinematic, because we knew already that Concord was a game as a service, and most games as a service don't have heavy story elements. And this thing kicks off with this elaborate, 5-minute CG cinematic that sets it up, and I'm starting to think, hey, maybe Concord actually has a single-player component, and it's has a campaign, but then also multiplayer, kind of like how Destiny is. But as it turns out, that is not the case at all. It really is just a multiplayer shooter game as a service. However, they're kind of doing what Blizzard does with Overwatch, where they're going to release. Except
they're putting the CG in the game. Seems to be what's happening.
What do you mean?
As in, you don't have to go to YouTube to see the story of the game you bought. It's going to be in the game.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be able to see these cutscenes in the game.
So once a week, they're going to put out an elaborate cinematic, and we'll see if it actually ends up being once a week. We've heard that before, and then it ends up being once a month. But they say that once a week, they're going to put out an elaborate cinematic like Blizzard does for Overwatch that shows you the characters both on the job and off the job. So you create this personal connection to the characters in the game. I don't think that's a bad idea. I just feel like if you watch this trailer, you probably don't think that Concord is
going to be a brainless 5v5 shooter.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
If this was a single player RP or campaign thing or a co-op thing, I would be into this. This is all the scenes in this are cool. All the characters are interesting. It's got a big Guardians of the Galaxy vibe to it.
You don't feel like it's a little bit of, it feels a little too much like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, but how much of that is there in gaming?
Yeah.
Nothing. The equivalent would be the Guardians of the Galaxy game that we're never getting a sequel to because it didn't sell well.
Yeah, I hear you. It does feel a little cheap. It feels like they ripped it off a little bit. But to your point, we'll probably never get another Guardians of the Galaxy game with a big budget, so this is probably about as close as it's going to get.
There's the other game that tried to kind of rip off the Guardians of the Galaxy attitude and vibe was Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So at least
see how that ended.
So at least they get points for doing it correctly.
Yeah.
This actually works for the most part. The problem is that now it just transitions to one of the least interesting things I've ever seen.
What, the actual shooter
the actual
part
game?
Of it?
Yeah.
So the game takes place in an area called Crater City. That's where the cinematic is taking place. If you notice, below them is a gigantic crater. And you're a part of this crew of people who travels around the planet and basically just takes jobs. I don't know if they're bounty hunters, so to speak.
That would be a mercenary, is what they're doing, really.
They're called Free Gunners. That's the name of their group.
Yeah, that's a mercenary. Freelancer with a... Except they don't use lances, I guess. They use guns. I assume that's the etymology there.
Yeah. And basically, you're taking jobs on various worlds, and you're competing with other crews. There will be a total of 16 playable characters when the game launches. That's on day one. That's competitive. I think Overwatch had 20. I think Apex Legends had 8 or something.
Yeah, Apex Legends didn't have that many.
So it does jump all over the place. So 16 I feel like is a pretty good number. And then the thing for this game, or at least as far as they say, and we'll see if it ends up being true, is that they want to make sure that the characters vary a lot. That they're not just cloning their characters. For example, that big yellow robot that you see, it doesn't even really have a gun. It has a vacuum that vacuums stuff up, and he can drop jump pads and things like that. But that's all it does. So basically, they want to make sure that team composition is really important. But they said they want to make sure that each character can also be played in different ways. I don't know how the yellow robot can play any different other than be in support, but maybe they've got some ideas that they haven't shared so far with the media that they've released and the information that they've given out so far. So there's deployable gear, there's healing pads, there's traps. One thing that they did mention, there's a developer doc for this game, they talk about lanes. And they talk about how there's objects in the game that you can use to block the lanes. I don't know how much that means that this game is MOBA-like or whatever, but it does appear that a lot of the map designs are going to be 3-lane map designs where you have a center lane and then a right and a left lane that you're trying to go from one side of the base to the other. So maybe some light MOBA elements. Again, a lot of this information we're just trying to disseminate from what they've shown and the few things that they've mentioned. They did mention blocking lanes. There are walls, deployable walls that you can get in the game to block lanes off from the enemy. So there is some semblance of trying to herd the enemy into places where you can unload on them, basically creating choke points. Again, they mentioned circular maps. 3 to 4 shot kills is generally what they're going for in this, which is not a lot, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of Call of Duty level. Like, if you get somebody in the head and neck in Call of Duty, 3 bullets usually finishes them. That's
definitely faster time to death than
most
Overwatch.
Games like this, yeah. So we'll see how people like that, and that's something that's easy to tweak as well. Like, if they launched a game like that and people complain, they can very easily tweak that and change it. So that's not like a deal breaker to hear that's how the game is
notice
played.
like all the footage of this, like they're continually cutting away to like little things that won't happen in the game.
Yeah.
Like the cool parts of this are not in the game. Like this, what a waste.
Yeah.
What a waste of a cool concept and cool ideas and a cool looking a cool looking world. Like the universe looks cool. Like,
well, the funny part is like we're opposite here.
Like
I think the world looks derivative, but I think the game looks okay to play.
This looks like as close to like Beyond Good and Evil 2's world as we're ever gonna get.
Probably. That's a good way to put it.
But like, I would watch this animated series. I would play this adventure game. I would read this comic. But I will not play this
video
shit.
game.
Like that's every fucking shooter I've ever played.
Yeah,
right there.
I hear you.
Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, for me, as someone who plays a lot of shooters, it's about looking at the characters and the weapons and stuff like that. That's what is or is not a deal breaker.
Right, and then after a week, the meta will settle into like 5 different characters that everybody uses, and it's the same teams every fucking time, and no one wants to play on this map, but we all want to play on this map, and so we just kind of like sandbag through this map until the other one comes up in the rotation. It's like, don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
I mean, to be fair, all that stuff is very accurate. There's a beta coming up pretty soon. The game releases on August 23rd this year. Mm-hmm. So it's coming out pretty darn soon. The beta is going to be in July. And one important thing here, Matt, this game is not free to play.
No, that's shocking to me.
So they're following the Helldivers 2 model here. They're like, they'll probably charge $40 for it, and this is not going to be Helldivers 2 though. I can tell you that already.
No.
It's too similar.
Too generic.
Yeah, it's too similar to the other shooters.
Helldivers' advantage is it's not really like anything else once you kind of settle down into it, and for good or for better or worse.
Yeah. So you do have to pay for this. And my guess is it'll be $40, but there will be free post-launch updates that introduce new playable, they call them free gunners. There's going to be new maps, new modes, and as I mentioned earlier, a new cinematic vignette every week to kind of expand on the universe around this game. But Matt, the reaction to this game has not been positive online. No. And most people are chiding it for being very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. The one character in particular might as well just be from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
What, the Star Child
guy?
I mean, yeah, he's just Drax.
I mean, it's pretty shameless, honestly. The other characters are unique, but they still have the same vibe as Guardians of the Galaxy. It's very tongue-in-cheek, very hook, yuck. Lots of laughs, gags, that type of stuff.
I might be willing to give this like a shot at moderate success if it was free.
Yeah.
But
well, my guess is, Matt, it will be free very quickly.
Yeah, I suppose.
My guess by January, by the time it had a holiday season to go through sales where it doesn't sell, I think in January you'll start hearing the rumblings about it going free to play. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it will, and they might be able to turn this into a successful free to play game, but looking at it right now, as a game that you pay for, I think it's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah, and this is sort of emblematic of what I was concerned about when they said that we're doing 10 game-as-a-service games. My concern was, I mean, I don't care. It's like it's easy for me to ignore game-as-a-service game for the most part. But it was like, I bet there's going to be some cool ideas that are going to get wasted because they end up getting made into the game-as-a-service game instead of the game they should be. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there's no reason to put this much effort. I mean, I think this about Overwatch, too. There's no reason to put that much effort and care into these characters and building this world and building these stories around these characters if you're never going to do anything with it, if it has no relevance to the game. And it doesn't.
Well, I was playing Multiversus this week because it is back live again. And I am shocked that nothing has been done to that game in 2 years. It is the same exact game we played in beta with like a couple extra maps and some extra characters. But like, it's not finished still. Like, there's still no character entrances to the fights. Like, they just appear on the map before the fight starts. Like, it doesn't have any of the accoutrement that you have from games like Smash Brothers or whatever. Now, again, it is free to play, but it's just so bare bones. Like, I also found that, like, I'm playing as Jason. It was, like, one of the characters that unlocked really early for me, and I've lost one match as Jason.
Like Voorhees?
Yeah. I've lost one match playing online with Jason. Like, I literally can just spam the same attacks, and nobody can stop it. So, there's balancing issues there, but the point why I brought it up is because, to me, it's kind of similar to this. Like, it's like, you could cut it down to free-to-play. Do I care about, like, a weekly cinematic? No, not really. Like, if it's free and the game is fun to play, I don't really care about that extra crap. Like, to me, stuff like that matters if you have a campaign.
You want to make a Guardians of the Galaxy game or a Star Wars Outlaws out of this? I'll play that.
Yeah.
But like this, no.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch the cutscenes on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I think they're interesting. You
I
know.
mean, I like watching the Overwatch cutscenes.
Yeah, same.
Because they're just done really well, you know?
There was a small chance I might have jumped into Overwatch 2 if the PvE kind of the story-driven campaign stuff actually happened, but they killed all that.
Now it looks like it's never going to happen.
No.
It's like the whole reason they launched Overwatch 2. It's insane.
And now that universe is gone.
Yeah.
And this will go away too. Like this could have been something, but it's not going to be anything.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Concord. For now, I think it's a PlayStation exclusive. I don't think they've announced it for PC yet.
Why would you?
I mean, why wouldn't you release it for PC after what happened with Helldivers?
Well, I think it's too late.
Maybe
to make that. They probably were not developing it for PC at all yet.
It will come to PC very quickly.
I don't think it ever will.
Really? You think it'll bomb so hard that they won't bother?
Yes.
Interesting. I feel like Sony at this point, every multiplayer focused game, every game as a service should launch day and date on PC and PlayStation.
I would bet that they agree with that, but I just think it was probably too late for this one.
The Helldivers effect, it happened and they didn't expect it.
I mean, if you take one lesson from Helldivers,
that's it.
That's probably it.
That's it. That's the takeaway. So anyway, there you go. That is Concord. Again, it launches August 23rd, 2024. It is a paid game. It's not free to play. My guess is it'll cost $40.
Vincent says it is on PC at launch.
It's announced for PC already? Okay, good. All right, then they're smart. That's what they should be doing. That's good. That's good to hear. I didn't see that, though, in all the promotion. The other problem, too, is like this stuff...
a state of play isn't going to emphasize
that. That's the problem. Like, for example, I went to the PlayStation blog, the official PlayStation blog, to get a lot of the information about these games because that's all they released. And the PlayStation blog for this does not mention PC. So, which is a little weird.
They should probably start to just sort of embrace the idea that they're on both things now.
It's just the way it is now. It should be anyway. So there you go. That's Concord. Next up, the game that I think most people thought was the best game of the event, and that is a brand new, standalone, legitimate Astrobot game. I understand why people fell in love with this trailer because it's an awesome trailer, and two, it looks like a really awesome game, Matt.
Yeah. I will admit that like the people going around saying like game of the year already, the hyperbole around this game is mind shredding.
Yeah, it's a little much.
But it looks cool. Like
Matt, this is
like the only like tangibly interesting new mascot or anything that Sony's had probably since Sackboy, and it's just nice to see them capitalizing on it.
But Matt, this game is a PlayStation fanboy's wet dream. Because not only is it a really good-looking PlayStation 5 exclusive game, but it features everything from PlayStation Land. Like this trailer, you have a ship that's a PlayStation 5. If you remember the last one that launched with the PlayStation 5, it had the same thing. It had all kinds of cameos of old PlayStation hardware. This game is going to have a bunch of cameos from PlayStation characters in addition to the hardware. So again, if you're a PlayStation fan, like this is just rolling out the fan service like left and right. And on top of it, it looks absolutely incredible. Team Asobi, which is the team behind this franchise, says that it's at least 4 times bigger than any prior Astrobot game. And to be fair, I think the one at launch was 2 hours long.
Yeah,
it wasn't that long.
This seems like a proper full-fledged 3D platformer.
Game. Yeah. There are 6 different galaxies in the game, and then there are 80 different levels spread across those 6 different galaxies. And the objective of the game is for Astro to recollect his scattered crew. I don't know if the scattered crew are all PlayStation IP characters. I don't know if that's what it is. If you're rescuing
they all seem to be Astrobots dressed as them, I think.
Right. Yeah. But that's the objective of the game, and the story reignites Astrobot with a lot of the friends from the PlayStation universe. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of cool Easter eggs and stuff hidden inside there. The way the game works, it's kind of cool. Like, you actually kind of fly out in space on what they call the dual speeder. I don't know if that's the PlayStation 5 ship or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the dual would indicate that's the that's the controller.
The controller ship that you fly on, I guess. And basically, you dive down to the planets from outer space and go into the planets, and then the levels just start.
They remembered the light guns. That's cute.
I mean, this trailer is very clever. If you're a PlayStation fan, there's all kinds of cool stuff hidden in here. So yeah, you get to dive down to the planets. I don't know if it's going to be
what happened to him here? Did he see the NPD reports?
Maybe. It's all Xbox dominating the PlayStation sales. Just like they did say though already that just like the prior games, it will make full use of the DualSense controller. He will have 15 new abilities total. And a lot of those are reliant upon the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers of the DualSense controllers. There's a thing called the Barkster, which is like a bulldog booster that lets you air dash and smash through enemies. There's the twin frog gloves that after long range punch, they give you the ability to punch from long range.
Is that like a backdoor Frogger reference?
Maybe.
Do you remember? I don't remember why I ran into this week, but I was reminded of Frogger on the PS1. Do you remember how much that sold? They sold 4.5 million copies of Frogger on the PS1.
That's insane. I do remember that it was
4.5 million copies of Frogger.
That's crazy. And then there's also a giant sponge that lets you soak up water from the environment, and that blows up Astrobot into like a huge form. You see a little bit of that in the trailer. Oh, right there, right on time. You can turn into like a huge Astrobot. What else? They said there's 70 new enemy types. There's a massive boss at the end of each of the 6 different galaxies, so there's 6 major bosses in the game. It's a full-fledged 3D platformer starring Astrobot that makes use of all the technology of the PlayStation 5. And so I'm really excited for it. You guys are really excited for it. Everybody is. Again, this is the game that everybody was talking about after the State of Play. And to your point, Matt, maybe that is an indictment of the quality of this State of Play.
Yeah. I mean, this does look really good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take away from it, but it is sort of indicative of what we're working with this year. That this is the top of everybody's list.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to see Eco and Shadow of the Colossus references and all, but and it looks great, but that's it.
Yeah.
This is PlayStation this year.
This is coming out on September 6th, 2024. So you get Concord in August, and then you get this in September. So there's actually 2 months in a row with a PlayStation exclusive to buy. I'll tell you right now, that deserves a round of applause on GameFace.
I mean, I wish it wasn't coming. I wish it wasn't coming a week after Outlaws, because I guarantee you, I'd rather be playing Outlaws unless something goes horribly wrong.
And you will probably still be playing Outlaws by the time this comes out.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
both will be.
I will jump on this when on September 6th.
Although Ubisoft takes pretty good care of us, so I might be able to get both of us early codes of Outlaws. We'll see how that goes. So we'll see. But anyway, that is Astrobot. No subtitle. They're just going back to the OG Astrobot.
They know that the others were VR, so no one really remembers that.
It's going to sell for real money. So my guess is it may only be $40. Who knows? But probably not.
I feel like this is going to be a full price game.
$70. Yeah. So anyway, it's Astrobot. It comes out on September 6th. AJ asked, you see Sony implementing PSVR2 support for the Astrobot game? I mean, that's a good question, but I don't think so.
Probably not.
It doesn't. I mean, I feel like
unless
there's
like a side mode kind of thing that you can do it with.
I feel like they would have mentioned it. Yeah. I don't think it would look that good if it was going to be
that
playable.
game is not VR. Of course not. But I'm saying maybe the way Battlefront had a VR mode. X-Wing level.
Yeah,
like you could do something like that.
You can use. Maybe.
Possibly,
I mean, on the first PlayStation
honestly,
VR,
just include the VR game.
Yeah, why not?
Just throw it in there.
Yeah. Well, the first PlayStation VR,
everybody already has it.
Probably the coolest thing I played.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to move; I could play without getting sick. And I remember just sitting in my chair and looking down at my feet, and the Astrobot was running around my legs, and I was like, "What?" And I'm trying to touch him. That was one of the moments where I was like, "PlayStation VR is pretty cool." That made me come on GameFace and event and recommend it. And again, I've said it many times. One of my biggest regrets as a games journalist is recommending PlayStation VR 1. Quickster says, do you think PlayStation helped back some games for PS5 Pro reveal? No. I think
this is literally all
this is what it has.
Unless you wanted some trailers of a Naughty Dog game that comes out in 2028 or something.
Yeah.
I think it was either this or trailers of things we won't be playing for years.
Yeah. Next up,
And in the end, I think I prefer this.
Yeah, me too. Yep. Next up, gameplay trailer for Monster Hunter Wilds. Definitely, probably the biggest, honestly, probably the biggest thing in this press thing.
I mean, in terms of what will have the most impact in sales, this is going to probably sell the best of whatever.
And this trailer doesn't give up a ton, other than you can see right from the beginning that story is a bigger element in this Monster Hunter than it is in other ones. Although, if you read what Capcom wrote about the story in this, I have my doubts. Like, I feel like
if I know Monster Hunter, you get that cutscene at the beginning, and that's
then
it.
Never get another
you'll
one.
You'll never hear another word from these people.
But they did share a bunch of information about the game, again, on the PlayStation blog to give us some information. It was very weirdly written. It was hard to glean a lot of information. A lot of words, but not a lot of real information there. But here's what I was able to get out of it. So every locale monster and person is supposed to act with their own thoughts and motivations. We've heard that before about video games, and that's never come to fruition. It says combining dynamically to bring an immersive and constantly changing ecosystem. Basically what they're saying is the creatures in this, they move in herds and they work together as a team if they're in a herd, and then other creatures that aren't in the herd will interact with the other herds and like start fighting each other out in the open. You can jump into fights between monsters and like they'll be half of their health like removed, and it's a tactic in the game to kind of capitalize on conflicts between the monsters out in the open world. That could end up being kind of cool. When you encounter a large monster while you're out exploring on your own, you just enter the quest seamlessly. It just starts. The quest just kicks off as soon as you get within a certain vicinity of a monster. So it's not like something where you go back to this area, you start this quest, you go out and do the quest, you come back and turn the quest in, then start the next one. It sounds like quests are going to happen in this a lot more organically than they have in the past, which to me is a huge upgrade for this franchise. I hate that about Monster Hunter. I have to keep going back to the base after every like major.
The stop and go nature was always one of its weak points.
It always made me quit playing. I'd go back and I'd be like, okay, this is a good place to stop, and then I wouldn't play again. I would just stop for good eventually. The weather is a big deal in this as well. There are extreme weather conditions that will transform the locations in unexpected ways. They said the environments will change drastically. Monsters and organisms will change and adapt according to the changes in the environment, again, resulting in a world that feels truly alive.
They're hunting the wild buzzword.
Pretty much. Immersive. They use it like 8 times to describe this game. There's a new mount in the game called The Secret. It's spelled differently, but it's pronounced the same. They're like these small but nimble creatures that you can ride. And they have like a really strong sense of smell, so you can basically go on the map and tell them where you want to go, and they'll just automatically run there. You don't have to manually like control them, and that's important because you can do a bunch of stuff while you're mounted on the mount. You can, obviously, combat is something that you can do, but you can also like collect resources and do a bunch of other stuff. You have this like hook shot in the game, and it's been in prior games, but they've really expanded it in this, and you can use it while you're mounted. And you can use the hook shot to just snag like items if you want to. If you don't want to run all the way and get them, you can just use the lasso or whatever and lasso them. What else? There's no new weapons in the game. It has the same 14 weapons the last couple games have had. It just feels like they've just reached the law of diminishing returns on it at this point.
Yeah, Monster Hunter's weapons are what they are at this point.
Yeah, it feels like they've kind of hit the hilt on that. There's a brand new focus mode that gives you more precise control over how you guard, aim, and attack, which, again, a very welcome addition. They also said that targeting the weak points on the monsters was a big focus of this, and so that focus mode ties into that. They also said it makes it easier to adjust your distance to the monster and aim your attacks. Again, something that has been annoying in Monster Hunter for a really, really long time. Anything that they can do to make the combat feel more like it's attached to the character, I'm all for. Again, it's been a problem for a while. You get special bonuses if you played Monster Hunter World. There's fully voiced conversations in the game, which again, I think they're trying to make that point by starting the trailer with the cinematic. So it does appear it's going to be a little bit more story-driven, a little bit more narrative in the game than prior games, but most importantly, it seems to be fixing the things that annoy me about the game or have annoyed me about the franchise for a while. So I'm pretty excited for this. We still don't have a release date for it, unfortunately. I thought maybe they'd give that to us in this when they showed it, but they didn't. So that is Monster Hunter Wilds. Any quick thoughts on it, Matt?
No.
No?
Not for me.
You still won't get into it, play it very much?
Nope. I still believe it will play like a clunky garbage covered in molasses, and I don't like the theme. I don't like the concept. I don't like the whole "let's go murder animals to make hats out of them" thing, because they've never come up with a good reason to do it.
Yeah,
isn't it? It always feels weirdly cruel.
Well, they never say that they need the meat to survive.
No, it's never that.
Like that.
You know, I mean, World was the worst about that, where it's like, we need to study them, go kill them all, and bring them back their skin. You know, it's like, okay, that's science, sure.
Yeah.
And that first, and I played them before. I played Try on the Wii a lot, and all that, you know, because I had people online that wanted to play
I played that for like 200 hours.
But I think the stop and go constant, like, you know, you constantly ending up at proper stopping points, I think is, like you said, is a big problem for me in terms of the flow of it. And it, like the tutorial of Worlds is like, go hunt this thing that's minding its own business, and then you hit it a bunch, and then it gets injured and runs away limping and crying and you have to track it down and murder it. And I'm just like, I don't want to play this anymore. That was it, and that's the end of Monster Hunter for me.
Well,
like,
for me, I feel like with Monster Hunter, it's like,
and it's not fun. I don't think it's fun.
I think once you dive into one of them full bore, like I said, I played the Wii one for 100+ hours. Once you do that, I feel like it's really hard to get hooked on another one, man.
Yeah, probably. But also, like, I played Try for probably close to that. I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in it. I don't remember a single thing.
No,
I don't mean story. I mean anything. I don't have a single memory of that game.
I do.
None whatsoever.
I played it
I remember like a sea serpent, like an elasmosaurus or something underwater at some point. That's it. I don't remember that game at all. It just like washed over me. Completely unmemorable. I'll just play Dragon's Dogma 2 again. Thank you. That's the implementation of this sort of general concept that works for me.
Okay. We got to keep moving because we got a lot of games to get to still. Next up, we're going to talk about Dynasty Warriors Origins.
It sure looks nice, though.
It does look nice, yeah. So does Dynasty Warriors Origins. It's the first Dynasty Warriors made specifically for Generation 9 consoles, and it absolutely shows. You play as a nameless hero. They didn't say whether you're going to create your own hero, but that seems to be the hint. They just said play as a nameless hero. And a lot of times that means you'll create your own. I don't know. We'll see. But they are marketing this as having the largest battles ever in a Dynasty Warriors Muso game. They are still going with the 1 versus 1,000 Dynasty Warriors aesthetic, though this might be like 1 versus like a million.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there.
And it's not just that you're attacking like these groups of people. There are armies beyond these groups of people that you're fighting. And so what they've done with this game is they've also added strategy elements to it. So I think Nobunaga's ambition is starting to bleed over into this franchise a little more.
Well, they've always had. It looks like they're basically just. This looks like an Empires game to me. Because Empires was sort of the one that had strategy in it.
Yeah.
And like I always liked those the best.
Yeah.
And they kind of got away from those in recent decade or so. And kind of integrate because that was always the most Dynasty Warriors is at its most interesting when there is a little bit of strategy to it.
Yeah.
When it matters where you're going or what you're choosing or what you're doing, and then you got to get in there and like the idea of like my strategic choice is we're going to attack here and try to defend here, but if we push through here, we can come around the side and do that. That's my plan for the next like 3 turns, and then you have to go in and actually do it.
Right.
And I think that's a very cool game design.
Yeah,
this is the other game that I'm interested in in this presentation.
Well, the other thing too is that one of the things they're concentrating on for this game is making sure that the enemies push towards you.
Yeah,
and that will make a huge difference because then there becomes like a time element.
That was one of my only real complaints about the Fire Emblem ones.
They wait.
Everybody's just waiting around for you to do your thing.
Literally, they will just stand there and wait for you to come and kill them.
Yeah.
So in this, they're pushing forward, which will increase, like as Matt pointed out, some of the strategies. Flanking might be important. So again, Dynasty Warriors Origins is coming in 2025, so it's not coming out this year. Next up, the game that I think pissed people off the most, the Silent Hill 2 remake. Matt, I'm getting to the point where I feel like no matter what, people are going to hate this game.
You can't really, I mean...
They're pissed off about the character models. It's like, why?
Well, they're pissed about the character models. I would never know these are those characters if you put them in different clothes. That's my I would never. That doesn't look like what's her name? Angela. That doesn't look like Angela. That doesn't look like James. That doesn't look like Maria. Like the faces are completely different.
They are, but I still can tell who it is.
I can tell who it is because they're wearing their clothing. If you change their clothes, I would have no idea that's supposed to be James from Silent Hill 2, ever. Like it just looks like a guy.
Yeah.
And like, is that reason. I mean, but again, I've said it before. Touching this game, you're just asking for it. Like it's the best game in the series. It's arguably the best survival horror game of its entire era, maybe ever. Period. Certainly in terms of traditional survival horror.
How long has it been since you played it?
I replayed it on the PS2 about 10 years ago. When did the terrible HD collections come out?
That's I think about 10 years ago. I think.
I think that was
like 2014.
Because I was completely unplayable to me, so I just pulled out the I pulled out the PS3 and I put the disc in and I played it that way.
You finally used the backwards compat on your PS3.
No, I used that a lot.
Do you?
I did. I don't remember the last time I turned the PS3 on, but I actually did use the backwards compatibility. That's why I still have all my PS1 and PS2 games, but I do not own a PS1 or a PS2 because my PS3 fat can still play everything. Yeah. But until it breaks. Let's not have that happen. Yeah. But Yellow Light of Doom waiting for me. I don't know. I don't have the skepticism of this game that people have about Bloober Team. Like I don't know why I know Bloober Team's kind of like hated for reasons. I mean, they didn't like that the end of the Medium kind of like made the pedophile the good guy a little bit. Or like made him sort of a victim. I didn't pick up on that at all. Actually, there is a little bit. It's a weird way to approach it. In general, I don't really. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff with like, it's all combat now. I think it's just because you show combat in a trailer. Yeah. Like I don't.
Right, because they wanted to have action.
Yeah, I mean,
but
what else?
Even the conversation in that first trailer though is very awkward and stilted. But that's the game,
right? Like, I mean, that they does seem like they're very intentionally doing this in the awkward style of the original game.
I'm just trying to figure out like what people want, because again, like that other, and I'll just go back to it so we can see it. But like this whole conversation here at the beginning of this trailer. If you watch this, it's very weird and stilted and awkward, but that's the way Silent Hill 2 is. Like, the reason I asked you how long it's been since you played it, because the last time I went back to play Silent Hill 2, I did not think it held up, like, hardly at all. Like, I thought it was, like, borderline unplayable. So, I don't know what people want out of this, but it just feels like no matter what Bloober Team does or Konami decides to do, people are not going to be happy with it.
No, probably not. I mean, I think the character designs are pretty bad in terms of trying to look like the characters. I don't think the dialogue is. I mean, the dialogue is weird because I think I think they're intentionally trying to recapture the same tone of the original game down to the awkwardness. They are clearly rewriting it so it's not as, because there's stuff in like the thing I remember the most about that conversation between him and Angela in the graveyard is where he asks if she's lost, and she goes, "Lost?" Right. And you're like, well, and in this, obviously, she doesn't do that. It's still off.
It's still awkward and weird.
But she doesn't like you're not gonna I don't think you're gonna mistake it for like early 2000s bad video game voice acting.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, I agree. With that,
It clearly is an intentional choice. Whether that choice is a good one or not is a completely different question.
Vincent asked, should they have done more of a reinvention, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Probably not. I think they should have just remastered it.
Yeah.
I think they should just taken the original game and made it look better.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that was the correct choice. But that's just not where Konami's head is with any of this stuff, and it's not what Bloober Team does. Like they're not Blue Point. They're not going to like just do a straight remake.
Yeah.
That would have been my choice. I mean, maybe they think that's what they're doing here. Maybe it is what they're doing. I don't know. Obviously you can't, because part of it's like you can't use the old VO, and so like it's all too low quality. You can't use the original James's performance. You couldn't even use it in the HD version. So they got Troy Baker to come in and do bad acting on purpose to try to match the rest of the game, which was. And there's a lot of weird. There's some. I'm
assuming they're still using Akira Toriyama's music.
I would hope so.
Akira Yamaoka.
Yamaoka. Yeah, I would hope so. I don't remember what I heard in this trailer.
Yeah.
I think I heard it. They are keeping the.
So the recording should still be fine. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'd re-record a lot of that probably.
You think?
I would think so.
I mean, those were on CDs, so should have sounded pretty good.
Somewhat, but if you wanted surround, you'd have to remaster stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
There's work to do there, one way or the other.
Yeah. This is coming out October 8th, by the way.
They do still have the. There's at least one more fantasy team locked down for you.
I think I'm done. I think now that I lost Hollow Knight, I think I'm toast. I think my second pick. I think you don't recover from that one.
And that you got your alternates.
I need one of your big games that get delayed. Basically.
You got your alternates, right?
Yeah, but one of them already got like a 6.
Yeah, but one of my
Skull and Bones was one of my alternates.
Right. One of mine was bad.
No, you have a good ones. I think Helldivers is your alternate.
Helldivers my alternate, but I mean in the main thing, in my main list. I can't remember what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I still think Stalker's going to drop out.
We'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that one.
But, yeah, I mean, you're kind of doomed.
It is hard to work on a project like this that is so revered. It's like, it feels like no matter what you do, someone's going to be
I wouldn't touch
off.
it. And you're going to see the same reaction to Metal Gear Delta or whatever. That,
which won't be.
Which, again, I don't have any affection for Metal Gear Solid 3. But, like... a lot of people do. But a lot of people do, and it's. I mean, I would imagine if you did, a big, fan base wide poll, 3 would be the favorite.
I think so.
Maybe 2 would be close, but I would imagine. I mean, 3 seems to be the most loved game in the series, from what I can tell. And you're just playing with fire when you try to remake that from the ground up, and you don't have any involvement of the original people, and like you don't have that kind of authority really to do it.
Yeah.
And Bloober Team just doesn't have. Either you don't like how they handle the tone and the subject matter of things, or other people just don't like their games. Like don't think they make good games.
Well, a lot of their games used to be all first person too.
Yeah, which I don't agree. I mean, I think if I was gonna pick someone to handle this subject matter, and I mean, not that they do it perfectly, but like. Being willing to tackle it head on, like Angela's story is real dark. Angela's story is very. I mean, it's a little weird actually that they made a whole trailer about that character because she's a 19-year-old sexual assault survivor,
right?
And maybe not the best PR face for the brand, but it's just I don't know, like, and there might be an argument that like that game was of its time. And that the lo-fi nature of it on the PS2 is one of the reasons it worked.
Yeah.
And that trying to recreate that in high fidelity like this is just doomed to fail.
Coming out October 8th, so just in plenty of time for Halloween. I'm intrigued by this for this very reason we've been talking about. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, I'm certainly curious.
Like, what the hell?
I don't really expect much from it, but I'm going
to give it a chance.
Can't wait to see how you fucked it up, boys. I mean, at the very least, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, we got to move on. Next up, surprising nobody, God of War Ragnarok for PC. Yet another thing that had leaked out well before this thing happened. This was even beyond the Insider Gaming rundown that it put up a couple hours before. We knew this was coming like a week or two before this state of play. It is coming out on September 19th. It is still going to require the PSN login, Matt.
Yeah, you should just get used to that,
It
folks.
has learned nothing.
Well, no, I think it doesn't matter here.
I don't think they're ever going to change. Yeah.
Well, you have to do that. Like the whole point is to know who's in your ecosystem and be able to throw that number up at the shareholders meeting.
Yeah.
Like this is not new. This is not different. Every other third-party publisher demands this. EA, Ubisoft, Capcom, even Warner Brothers has the login shit. Even if it doesn't work half the time.
Yeah. Ubisoft actually invades the game.
Yeah.
It starts popping achievements for
its own achievement
system. It's really crazy.
Like that is, part of the problem is like there's a bunch of countries out there. The majority of countries in the world can't have this because you can't make a PSN account there. Yeah. But the solution is for them to expand their PSN account reach.
Yeah.
Like. If I were them, I'd be working on that, not deciding never to integrate
the
this
root
stuff.
of the problem.
But you will need PSN accounts to play Sony stuff on PC. Just accept that.
Yeah,
like
just the way it is.
That's how it works.
By the time the third game comes out, people won't even talk about it anymore.
No. Why has Sony not realized that they need to expand PSN coverage to like every country in the world? I don't know. Just Sony going to be Sony
really is
all over again. Like.
It's really crazy.
I mean, look at the Nate Druckmann thing where they literally had to apologize for their own interview with their own developer at their own studio.
Yeah, it's bad.
Like there is nothing in the world Sony cannot make worse for themselves. Yeah. It's astounding.
I'll be honest with you. Reading some of the stuff on the PlayStation blog for these games, I was like, "Who the hell do you have writing this stuff?" Mm-hmm. Seriously?
AI, probably.
And I'll be honest with you, Matt. I think it's some of our former colleagues. I think we know the people who are writing this.
Do we?
Yeah. I don't want to call them
some
out
of that.
by name.
Some of that reads like AI to me.
I don't think it is, but it was bad writing. So Sony needs to upgrade whoever's working on the PlayStation blog. So anyway, that's God of War Ragnarok coming out September 19th. Requires a PSN login. Includes the Valhalla DLC. None of that's a surprise, really, sadly, for the login stuff. Next up. This is a game I thought you might be interested in, Matt, that I'm surprised that you weren't. Ballad of Antara.
I just don't know anything about it.
there's a lot of information out there, and we're running out of time, so I don't want to go too in depth about it. But there is a lot of information about it. This is coming out in 2025. This game looks amazing graphically. It is a free-to-play action RPG for up to 3 players cooperatively.
See, that's where you kind of automatically lose me.
But you shouldn't. So think about like all these big games now that are coming out that are these free-to-play action RPGs that people that are making literally like billions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't make commercial sense. I'm saying that I've never enjoyed one of those.
Well, the thing is, I haven't either because they're like art styles made for people who like Pokemon and stuff like that. This is like
that's
the same design with art and aesthetics that people like us would be interested in.
No. See, I don't dislike Genshin Impact because of the art style. I mean, it doesn't help. I mean, no, I'm not saying I'm not defending the art style. I'm saying that game is boring as all fuck. Like, I don't like Genshin Impact because I played it for like 15 hours and realized there was nothing else to do. I was bored out of my mind. And I've gone back to it a few times and it's fucking boring.
Well, Matt, I'll just be honest with you. This game sounds insane. I have like 800.
Then why are they giving it away for free?
Because that's how you can make a shit ton of money. Look at Genshin Impact. It's printing money. And you don't have to do anything. You put up some corny-ass DLC every, like, 3 weeks, and it just prints more money.
But all that says to me is I'm going to be rolling slot machines to try to get characters I want.
It doesn't sound like it's going to be that way.
I've seen all these different characters pop up all through all these different things. Like
that's the game,
That's the
though.
gotcha
stuff.
The
game is... So these characters are called emissaries, and the game is going out into the world and creating your own army of emissaries. That's the entire crux of the game.
Right, and I bet you're going to have to play gotcha capsule toy loot boxes to get those emissaries.
It's also set in like dual realities, where there's like 2 separate environments that you play through. There's a lot that goes into this game. There's this stuff called paras, which are like the verbiage they used on the PlayStation blog for this was freaking terrible. They need to fire the person that is running the PlayStation blog because it was just a bunch of gobbledygook fantasy bullshit. I was like, okay, just tell us about the fucking game, dude, or whoever wrote this shit. I'm like, what the hell, man? It was hard to figure out what the hell was like about the game or just this superfluous language that they were using the entire time. But basically, each para is like a unique essence in the world. Each one, and then I guess each one has its own biome story, or each of the emissaries has its own biome, stories, and adversaries. So it's like you go out into these different biomes and you defeat the biome, and that's how you get the new emissary that becomes a part of your army, essentially. To me, it sounds like it is designed differently from a lot of these free-to-play action RPGs that we're getting. I hear you. Most of those are pretty much the frickin' same. It does sound, Matt, like this one is going to be something different. Like, I started following this on SIFTD myself because I just want to learn more about it. And it looks like the graphics, like, whoa. For a free-to-play action RPG, that game is a stunner, man. I mean, it was the best-looking game in this whole thing, I think.
Yeah, sure, it looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. Like, I show me the game. Show me the game instead of this dark fantasy garbage.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen the dark fantasy garbage, but through most of that trailer, I was just like, can we move on from the gritty Dark Souls fantasy? Like, because like,
I understand why they did it.
Like, oh sure, but it's like I don't care about the game, but I will admit that crab game that you talked about, like,
Another Crab's Treasure.
And yeah, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
Like, these games, you make a Souls-like, but it doesn't have to be like a fucking Boris Vallejo painting every time. Yeah. Like, you can do some shit, you mess around with it.
Is that the guy that did the Fog Hat album cover with the dude on the horse?
Yes.
Yeah. They should make a Zelda game that looks like that, man.
They should do a lot of things.
I've been asking for that for like 15 years. It'll never happen, but
no.
A boy can dream. Next up, a game called, and I'm surprised you're not at least a little bit interested in this one, Matt. It's called Where Winds Meet.
Mm-hmm. Haven't we seen this before?
Yeah. I think it's also coming to PC. I think this is the first time they showed it for consoles. It's an open-world hack and slash set in an alternate ancient China during the 5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms period. It's an open-world martial arts game. They're inspired by Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So there's a lot of over-the-top kung fu where they're flying.
It's all wuxia stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yep, that's the exact word that they use. So you basically you master martial arts, and this is like, again, it's like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. You're flying through the air. You're like 100 yards off the ground, like running through trees. Like, it really is like an over-the-top, almost like supernatural take on martial arts. You can run up sheer cliffs or across like the water with your special abilities. It's called the power of Chi. You can stun enemies from a distance. You can grab objectives from far out of reach. You can also add new martial arts skills throughout the game. that you end up getting a lot of your martial arts skills by mimicking the behavior of animals that you come across in the environments, which is kind of a unique twist.
It's very kung fu, though.
Yeah. The weapons include a spear, a sword, a fan, dual blades, an umbrella, and a glaive. There is a combat system in it called the AcuPoint hit system that temporarily freezes opponents. And there's another ability called the Chai Grip. Where you can,
the parrying is what that
pretty
is.
much, yeah. Just a fancy name for parrying. And there's an ability called the Chai Grip that you can use to disarm opponents and launch a counterattack. So your parries and your counters, basically. No release date for this yet, so we don't know. But again,
well, that's one reason I'm not particularly enthused, because this is probably a year away or more.
Yeah.
The other is like I love the theme. I love the wuxia thing. The gameplay looks like every other combat game I've ever played.
Yeah.
So it'll have to prove itself. I mean, that's a cool shot, but all the gameplay is just running around on the ground,
hacking
Dark Souls style, and dodge rolling.
Like,
so.
Yeah.
Show me something different.
Yeah. But I thought this might at least catch your eye.
I caught my eye in terms of that, but it looks very generic once the gameplay starts.
Okay.
Like the cutscenes, like the design, like the setting, like all that stuff, but it doesn't. I'll have to get my hands on it to decide whether it's something I want to devote an actual amount of time to.
One thing I'll say, it does feel like there's this push towards putting big budgets behind Asian-themed games lately.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Well, I mean, a lot of the up-and-coming developers are Korea and
the
China.
Ghost of Tsushima effect, maybe.
Well, what was it? The
Antara?
Antara?
Ballad of Antara.
Ballad of Antara. That developer's Chinese, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Sure, there's probably a lot of untapped talent over there, so good.
Yep.
I just thought it was interesting that when I Googled that after that trailer ran, there was literally nothing.
Yeah.
There's
only
nothing
on the PlayStation blog.
Nothing in English on it.
Yeah, it's hard to find. Next up, something that was not a big surprise, Marvel Rivals is coming to consoles. It was originally, it's weird, I don't know why they only announced it for PC at first, but it is coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. We talked about this last week. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. It is basically Overwatch drenched in Marvel juice. Matt, he's a big Marvel fan, is not into it because he's not into the genre. I'm pretty excited to give it a try. The initial betas that people have been in, people have been pretty receptive to it. People have liked it for the most part. I've been surprised by that. So yeah, there's a beta for this coming up as well. They've already done the betas for the PC version, and now they're shifting gears, and they're going to start doing it for the console versions. And then this comes out, I believe, before the end of the year, if I remember correctly. But I'm pretty excited for this. Matt's not, despite the fact that he is a huge Marvel fan. But like, there's some stuff in this, like you just saw there, the ability to like the destructible environments. There's not really any of that in any of the other hero shooters that are out there right now. So I'm hoping it provides at least something a little bit different. And I'm also a Marvel fan, so I'm excited to play as these characters in the context of a game like this. So if you're a console owner, fret not. Marvel Rivals is coming to consoles. This is going to be free to play, by the way. Should mention that for sure. So you don't have to worry about that when it comes out. And you shouldn't have to worry about it either as long as you finally upgrade from that PS4 to that PS5. And now we're getting to some of the smaller stuff. Next up, this is a game called Behemoth for PlayStation VR2. Actually, it's coming for pretty much every VR helmet.
Skydance's Behemoth.
Yeah, it is. They did add that.
It's very funny that they put the company name in this.
Because there's another game called Behemoth. That's why. Which I think was a hero shooter, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
I think it was.
That.
So anyway, they put Skydance on the front of it, but this is coming out in fall 2024. This actually looks really freaking good for a VR game. I was pretty blown away by this, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what it looks like in the actual headset.
Yeah, you're right. But it is made by the studio that created the Saints and Sinners games, the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which did horribly. But this is a whole new angle for this studio. I think it looks amazing. You got these crazy, like, you've been, like, cursed with poison or something, and you use the poison in your veins to like go into rage mode basically, and you become like superhuman or whatever. But a lot of the rest of it does look very derivative as far as action games are concerned. However, there is a little taste of Shadow of the Colossus in this game, and that gives it another sort of unique angle. It is good. I think it's good to see in general, Matt, that we're just starting to see real games for VR on a pretty consistent basis at this point.
It's not going to move the needle.
I agree. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. And again, it's not even exclusive to PlayStation VR. It's coming to pretty much all of them. But I think this was the first hint that the stuff was coming with PlayStation VR2 going to PC, because they didn't make a big deal about like this is an exclusive for PlayStation VR2 like they used to. So it should have tipped us off. But anyway, that's Behemoth. Again, fall 2024 coming to all VR HMDs. Next up, Until Dawn, the enhanced version of Until Dawn. It's one of those choose-your-own horror adventure games where you're a pack of teens going to the wilderness for some dumbass reason. And really, the objective is just trying to keep them all alive. This is one of the better ones, I think, of this genre. At least I enjoyed it.
I mean, this team does. I mean, I don't. They don't grab me.
I still think the Quarry's better than this, but this is one of the better ones for sure. And a lot of people did like this a lot. Vortex Complex says, I can't believe I'm not interested in almost any of these. So you're like Matt. You're not enjoying all of them, any of them really. Bimindix says too many team-based shooters. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are too many. The market is getting flooded. But you look at PlayStation, it just launched Helldivers, and it did gangbusters. So they're going to keep making them. As long as you keep getting hits like Helldivers 2, they're going to keep making them. Because they're like, okay, we thought the market was tapped. It's not.
Even if they're only getting a 10% success rate.
Yeah, it's worth it. Because that one game that hits can literally sustain you for the next 5 years financially. I mean, that's what EA's doing. Yeah. It's all Apex Legends and Ultimate Team. That's what's paying the salaries of everybody at EA now. That's it. So other publishers are figuring it out, other developers are figuring it out, and they're going to keep throwing crap against the wall, trying to figure out what's going to stick. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. JM Rain says, I'm happy there will be an Until Dawn update, but I don't need it. Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, about this, Matt, is Until Dawn, the original game, still looks pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It's funny we're getting to the point now where I'm like, really? Do we need a remaster of that?
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I don't remember Until Dawn tremendously clearly, but that doesn't look all that different.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's loading time.
I'm sure if we did side by side.
Part of it, I'm sure, is that Rami Malek's in it, and there's look, we have a best actor nominee in our video game. Let's update it for modern time.
Probably.
That's probably part of it.
And I think part of it is just what you said. They want to get all these games updated to modern times, so they don't have to touch them ever again. And once you get it into 4K, you're good. You're golden.
Yeah, you can carry that forward for another 15 years, probably.
Easily. A couple more. Path of Exile 2. They showed off the console version of that. It is an isometric action RPG a la Diablo. Are you a fan?
I like it. Exile? I like it well enough. I backed it.
You did?
I was on Kickstarter.
The first one or the second one?
First one.
Okay.
It's fun. It's a lot of some of the ex-Titan Quest guys from Iron Lore.
Yeah.
And
which was pretty good.
It's good. It's fun. It's good. Yeah, I never finished it. It's huge. Never even played the second one. I don't even know if it's even.
Well, it's not out yet.
It's not even. But I think it's early access or something.
No, it goes into early access in the fall.
Oh yeah.
On consoles and PC.
All right.
So it technically launches this fall, and it is coming to both PC, Xbox Series, and PlayStation 5. I think by then I'll probably be ready to play another one of these, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty burnt out on it from Diablo, but around the time at the end of the year, I'll probably be ready to play another one of these and dedicate.
I think I'll wait until it's done.
Yeah. That's a good point with a game like this, actually. That's actually a really good point. And you can see, though, it is consoleizing itself a little bit with couch co-op.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, which is a nice little feature to have on the consoles. So it is, look, they are trying to make some tweaks to the PC version to make it more palatable on console. Crossplay, as long as it's cooperative, that's fine. If there's any PvP in this, that's where it starts to get a little dicey.
Does it say crossplay?
It just said it, yeah.
It said cross progression. It didn't say crossplay.
I think it just said crossplay.
It said cross progression.
Oh, really?
Your save counts
right there.
Oh, there. Okay, that was a little earlier.
Yeah, right there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
You always have co-op partners.
PvP was never super relevant on the first one, as I remember. I don't really deal with that anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play PvP in a
cross
game
progression
like this.
is good. Like being able to jump from one to the other is good. That's more important to me than crossplay, probably.
Yeah. And then next up, another VR game, Alien Rogue Incursion. This one's also coming to pretty much every VR HMD. This trailer is literally 18 seconds long. 18 freaking seconds long.
Yeah.
But they do show the first glimpses of gameplay. You can see what it looks like in engine.
Alien is a good idea for VR stuff.
Hell yeah, it
but
is. It's the perfect
looks
IP.
Awful.
You think it looks awful?
Yeah, it's low frame rate, and the alien model isn't very good. like my gold standard for this is something like Alien Isolation, which I don't
and
think.
by now you should be able to get that.
Right,
in VR.
that's old. That game's old. Like you should be able to get
now.
that fidelity out of this, and this looks real rough.
Yeah.
Maybe it's really early, and that's why there's only 18 seconds of it. But like,
it might be terrifying though in VR. I know you don't get scared by stuff like that.
I don't know if a low poly xenomorph jumping at me is really gonna freak me out that much. But
and then the final game, definitely the weirdest game of all of them, is a game called Infinity Nikki, which is like it's kind of like a little bit like Princess Peach Showtime. It's an open world. I think it's got action in it, but they call it an adventure game where she gains her powers from the outfits that she wears. Again, like Princess Peach Showtime. This game is coming out at the end of summer, something like that. But it just feels like this is what like the Japanese bone that they threw into the presentation. They're like, well, we got to keep our Japanese partners happy, so we're going to put Infinity Nikki in there. But yeah, this is the one game where I was like, okay, I'm not sure why you put that in there. And maybe it wouldn't have been in there if this was really Sony's old E3 press conference, but it made the cut for the state of play. And there you go. Those are all the games in Sony's state of play. Matt, you already said you really didn't like it, but what letter grade would you give that state of play?
This probably gets a D.
Yeah. I'd probably give it a C or a C minus, something like that. And it's only because I have lowered expectations over the last however many years. Like, as I said earlier, if we were still in the era of Sony doing its in-person press conferences, this is a D or an F.
I mean, my expectations are generally pretty low overall for these kinds of things, but holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's 5 games in there I'm pretty excited to check out at least. But there were 14, to your point.
Yeah, I got Dynasty Warriors and Astrobot, and that's it.
Yeah. Wow. There's more than that for me. I'm interested in checking out Concord. Obviously, I'm a big shooter guy. And then some of the smaller action games I want to check out. And, I don't play a lot of free-to-play games. I don't play any free-to-play action RPGs. But I will say, I'm going to try that one because it looks different than the others. So it may suck. It may be horrible. It may be just like all the others, just this squirrel wheel with gotcha mechanics. But I'm going to give it a go. So I'll give it a C, C minus. What about y'all? What are you guys saying in chat about that Sony state of play? What grade would you give it? Pharaoh Doll says, can't believe they're making a Love Nikki action game. Yeah, I can't either. Eric Cartman says D minus. What are your grades? D from Khalib Twilai, D from JM Rain, D minus, P for poop, C minus, D, C. They're all in the same territory that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. C to D minus. Yeah. Yep. C. Listevik gets it an F. Coming in off the top rope with a bottle of LS Cream.
To the face.
To the face.
That bottle wouldn't break.
No, it wouldn't, man. You hit somebody in the head
bottle.
with that thing, man. They're going out, and it is not shattering. Anybody else? D from E-Theme and Monster Hunter Wilds and PoE2. Let's have laughed at that one. Okay. I think you guys are all pretty much grading it right around where Matt and I did. So it looks like we are congruent in our opinions on Sony's latest state of play. Next up, and our last topic of this episode of GameFace is Matt and I's Summer Game Fest /
2 of 2.
Yeah, 2 of 2. Only 2 topics in this episode. Are our predictions for Summer Game Fest and for Not E3 2024. Now, again, Matt is going on vacation, so he won't be here. However, when he gets back, the first episode of GameFace, and I should mention right now, by the way, that we will not have an episode of GameFace on next Tuesday because we will have a huge episode going up on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, another huge episode going up on Monday afternoon, Monday night that covers all the stuff from Not E3. So there will not be a traditional GameFace next Tuesday. I should have mentioned that. But anyway, when Matt does come back, he'll have a chance to share his opinion on all this stuff. We'll bring it back up again so he can give us his opinion on it because it's important to us. But in the meantime, he can still make predictions about what's going to happen, and that's what we're going to do. Both Matt and I have created 3 predictions for Summer Game Fest / Not E3 2024. We just kind of looped it all together. Basically, what's going to happen over the next 7 days is what our predictions are for. And Matt, you're going to start. What's your first prediction?
I'll admit that some of these I don't actually believe.
Okay.
But you asked for 3 big predictions, so I'm just going to give you 3 big predictions.
Okay.
Rare's Everwild finally shown and/or explained.
Wow.
In part because there's been rumors that like it actually is still happening.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen those.
This last week, there's been chatter that like it's actually happening and on track.
I missed that actually. Because I think last year, I think I brought this up in our pre-E3 coverage, and at that point you were like, "That game's done." Like I think you said we never see it.
It may never.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even know what the game was last time they did interviews
They
about
still may not know what it is.
So I think we might see it again, and maybe we'll have a little bit of a clearer idea of what this is.
Coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox.
Coming to anything that'll take it.
Anything that'll sell it. Anyone that'll buy it.
Apparently, there is going to be a shadow drop with the Xbox
of some game.
Okay. The biggest speculation seems to be Towerborn.
Okay.
Which I completely forgot existed
Yeah,
until people
it's a
mentioned
smaller
it.
Game.
But which would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you could get away with that. I don't think people would freak out about it. I would be pleasantly surprised by this because I would just like to play a new game from Rare, honestly. That isn't a game as a service like CFDs. I would like to play a nice single-player game from Rare again. Is that too much to ask?
Yes.
It may be. Like, where's Viva Pinata? Like, I don't even like Viva Pinata. But at this point, I'd take it, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take a new Viva Pinata at this point. Like, anything Rare that's single-player focused. Give it to me. Shoot it into my veins. I'll play it. So we'll see.
It would be nice to see. I mean, the more likely thing is either Towerborn or
Banjo-Kazooie 3.
Or Gears Collection gets shadow dropped.
This will be the first year I'm not going to predict a new Banjo-Kazooie game. E3.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
I've been predicting that for the last 4 years. I finally ran out of gas. And watch, they will debut it finally when I finally give up on it. So anyway.
Watch, Everwild is actually a Banjo game now.
You guys may have forgot about Everwild. We haven't talked about it on GameFace probably since a year ago when we were talking about it before E3 last year. So you guys may have forgotten that it even exists. And maybe it doesn't exist. We have no idea. So we'll see. My first prediction for not E3 2024 is there is going to be a gigantic Fable blowout. We're going to see, I mean, we've already kind of seen, I wouldn't say we saw the first gameplay. Well, we did. There's a couple clips of gameplay in this
There's
trailer.
some gameplay in here, yeah. Especially
it's all in engine,
after
though.
Hellblade 2, it's pretty clear that this is what the game will look like.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And this game has been in development now for like 5 years. Like, they've got to be ready to show some legitimate gameplay for this. I mean, the game should be close to done. Let's be honest. Like, this game should be wrapping up at this point. So I'm going to say
it's not.
It's
I
not?
don't think so. No.
Really? Do you have inside information?
No, but nothing concrete. But I don't think we'll see this till next year.
Really? Well,
release.
That's my other prediction, actually.
Yeah.
So my prediction is huge blowout. Announce a release date for release in Q1 of next year.
That's very optimistic.
You think so?
Yes.
Wow. I thought it was erring on the side of caution because I almost went with like shocker coming out holidays 2024. But then I erred on the side of caution and was like, I'll bump it a quarter.
I really think this one is far out.
Well, then it was a huge mistake to announce this so early.
Agreed.
It really was a massive mistake. If it's still not ready to come out here in the next like 8 or 9 months, what are they waiting for, man? I don't know. Like, it feels like maybe they're going overboard on this game more than they should. But
I mean, I think their main thing this holiday is going to be gear. They're going to try to do Gears.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going. I didn't even select that as a prediction because I think that's just obvious.
It's a given. Yeah.
I think Fable is more of the X factor. I hope I'm right.
I think Fable's just too far out. They try not to. You know, they have been trying to do the whole everything you see is going to be out in the next year kind of thing, next 12 months sort of thing, and I just don't think this is going to make it for that.
I think at the very least we get like a chunk of gameplay, even if it's just a gameplay trailer where they're just like cutting together gameplay from like footage that they've captured in the studio or whatever. I think we at least get something like that. Like this trailer was all in-engine footage, but it literally only had like 3 seconds of gameplay in it. I think we'll get at the very least we'll get a trailer that is all gameplay.
I don't think Microsoft's going to consider it time for that yet.
Interesting.
Because it's going to be too far away.
Well, why did they put this out a year ago then?
I don't know what they were. I mean, why would they put Everwild trailers out before they do? Because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of true. Well, this trailer actually here is like 4 years old or whatever.
This trailer is ancient.
This is the first one. Yeah, just a teaser trailer. So anyway, I predict big things from Fable at not E3 2024. Matt, what's your second prediction?
This is also one I don't really believe, but it's probably more likely.
Why?
Resident Evil 9 announced, possibly with a teaser trailer. Maybe, but like in my head, I just see them saying Resident Evil 9's coming next year, and they show a logo, and that's it. Like,
I mean, This
like
year.
after like another Monster Hunter trailer, and they're like, and also Resident Evil 9. Here's a logo coming next year.
Yeah.
Like something real fast.
So far, Capcom has not announced any sort of an event for June.
No.
And usually, even last year, it had one.
Which makes me think that anything they're talking about is going to be in this.
In the Xbox presser. Yeah, I think it's very likely that it could be.
Yeah. I mean, the odds are it's going to actually just be their presence that this is just going to be the next season of Street Fighter or something. And they're like, no, that's on PlayStation only, huh?
No.
Isn't it?
Street Fighter's multi-platform.
Is that on everything?
Yeah.
Because it's about time for another season of Street Fighter 6. So that could be it, too.
Yeah.
But like, I'd rather see Resident Evil 9.
I think there's a good chance that they show it. And I think this is the only opportunity that they have to show it is the Xbox press conference.
Yeah, I don't see another time they do it in the near future.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's pretty likely that happens. So I'm with you on that one. I think it's got a good chance. And I'm very, very excited to check out the first ever open world Resident Evil, which is the rumors about Resident Evil 9 that have been making the rounds over the last month or two. So the other thing too, Matt, is the fact that there are rumors making the rounds about Resident Evil 9, which means it's been shown to somebody at some point, which is how those things get out. So that, to me, just adds to the prospect of Resident Evil 9 being announced at E3, and I hope you are right. I really hope you're right.
Yeah, I imagine their big focus will be either more Monster Hunter or that...
But showing Monster Hunter in the PlayStation thing, I mean, I think that takes it off the table.
Yeah, but there was the other one that I can't remember the name
of.
of.
Oh, the one with the Japanese
guarding the queen.
The goddess or whatever, yeah. Yeah, they could show that.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty close. That's probably this year, right?
I think it's coming out this year, yeah. So you're right. They could show like a demo of that, but they kind of blew that out already. So we'll see.
A little bit, but I still don't really know what it is.
I'd be surprised if Microsoft would let it come into its presser. I mean, here's the thing. Microsoft has the pick of the litter, man. Like, it basically, like, it knows now the Sony thing happened. Anything that wasn't in that Sony thing is fair game for Xbox at this point. And there was, to your point, and to the grades in our chat, there wasn't a lot in that Sony thing. So, sky's kind of the limit for Xbox. We'll see. My second prediction is that, and this isn't going out on a limb or anything, I think this is also kind of a given, like Gears, but...
I will literally put money on this.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the first gameplay of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I think we'll see a big developer walkthrough, probably what we'll see is a gameplay trailer at the press conference where it shows in-engine footage for the first time of combat and all the other stuff. And then I think maybe afterwards they put up like some other thing separately on EA's YouTube channel or something that blows it out, which is like a full-on developer walkthrough where there's like a 10-minute chunk of gameplay where they walk you through the gameplay loop, explain how it's going to work. I just think in general... Dragon Age Dreadwolf is going to get a huge blowout at not E3.
Dragon Age definitely is going to get blown out this summer at some point. It might as well be.
Yeah, why would it not be now when all eyes are on the Xbox presser? So I think, and it may even be in Jeff's thing. It may even be a case where it double dips.
It might be Jeff's thing. Maybe you'll get a trailer and a release date in the Microsoft thing, and you'll get a full blowout in Jeff's thing because Jeff will give it like 20 minutes.
Well, Jeff's is first.
Oh, is it first?
Yeah.
Does he not have any further stuff the rest of the week?
Not really. He has his big blowout on Friday, and then... There's like, then on Saturday, he has like the in-person thing here where you can go and play games and hang out and stuff.
Well, maybe not. It won't be in Microsoft then.
Or, I mean, it could be in both. Like, they could do maybe the trailer in Keeley's and then do the developer walkthrough in Xbox.
Yeah, it just feels like Jeff would be more likely to give them the time for the walkthrough.
I agree with that. You're right. But regardless, one of my predictions is huge blowout for the next Dragon Age. It's a long time coming. Rumors are the game is releasing this year. Yeah. So... they got to blow it out. What else are they going to do? When are they going to have so many eyeballs on something as they are going to have for Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to do their own showcase thing, and EA doesn't seem very keen to do those things. So. Yeah.
And again, as we mentioned earlier, there's no EA Play this year. Usually it does its own little press event away from downtown.
Yeah. Well, it would literally just be Madden and this.
Yeah, so. And they're not doing that this year. So, and again, Madden may take up a slot in the Xbox thing as well. So... I think to Microsoft, that's a big get. To us, it's not, but I think to Microsoft...
Yeah, there's definitely people... I mean, they remember how much time they spent on the ESPN thing?
Right,
yeah.
Yep. Okay, it's time for our last predictions, Matt. What is your final prediction for not E3 2024?
I just tried to think of the thing I would be least interested in happening and probably most likely to happen, and I came up with Kojima explains what OD is.
Okay.
For an hour. Or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest.
It's just everything's kind of pointing that direction. He's talking. He's tweeted 4,000 times about Furiosa because he loves George Miller, and George Miller is in OD, and like it's all the back and forth is just a giant love fest, and it just makes sense that he would do that on Jeff's thing, and probably George Miller will show up, and like Guillermo del Toro might show.
I feel like there might be a Kojima block.
I think
in Summer Game Fest,
wouldn't shock me.
Where literally all 3 of his games are shown like back to back to back. I would not surprise me at all. I mean, I think showing OD is a given. There's so much mystery behind this. I know this is the game that Jeff was begging Kojima for.
Yes.
He's like, look, man, we've already done stuff with Death Stranding 2. Physint is a little weird.
A little weird. Death Stranding 2 is probably further out than this, I think you're right. I think this is the one that they'll focus on the most. And I'm excited for it to find out what it is, even though ultimately I'll probably be disappointed. Yeah, I mean, finding out what whatever Kojima game is about is kind of like,
Exactly.
It's like being told a really bad pun.
Yeah, where it's like one of those jokes somebody tells that seems like it's going to be really funny, and it's building up to the punchline, and you're just waiting to like laugh really hard, and then the punchline falls flat.
Right. Or it's like just a dumb pun. It's like a Shaggy Dog story where it ends with a really bad, like...
There's a dad joke.
That has nothing to do with the rest of the story. It's just,
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay, so that's your last prediction. My last prediction for not E3 2024, I think is a barn burner, but I think it's really likely. And I predict that Halo Infinite is going to be announced for PlayStation 5.
I mean, you might as well do something with it. Right?
I mean, Halo on PlayStation for the first time ever. Yeah, it will bring down the house over a game that people didn't care about when it came out for Xbox.
Yeah, it's like mediocre Halo is great compared to no Halo.
It's still Halo on PlayStation, something nobody ever thought would happen. Master Chief on a PlayStation console. I don't know if it would be the last thing, but it might be the first thing. I think they'll put it in some spot where it would get a big focus. But it just, to me, is just obvious. This game is plenty old enough. It's sold. No one cares about the multiplayer on Xbox anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being Master Chief Collection as well, but that seems like a lot more work.
I just don't think there would be that much interest in playing.
I think it would be huge interest in having all of Halo
again,
on PlayStation.
Halo on PlayStation.
Yeah,
but
still Halo on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But this feels, I mean, there's an element of this that feels like putting Infinite on it would be like good money after bad. To some degree, like it feels like, but I think
it will sell better on PlayStation 5 than it sold on Xbox.
I mean, I think you're
X.
probably right. I just don't know if Microsoft would necessarily admit that to itself
because Microsoft has not got anywhere near its money back on this game yet. This game was in development for how many years?
Lots.
I mean, there's no way.
So is Master Chief Collection.
There's no way it's recouped its investment on this game. There just isn't, or even close to it. It's just, to me, I started thinking about it, I'm like, this feels obvious to me.
Somewhat. I mean, I think Master Chief Collection would be more of a bombshell.
You think people would care more if it was the Master Chief Collection?
100%.
Interesting.
1,000%.
Huh.
1,000%.
I just don't know if a lot of people played them already, though. Even if they're PlayStation owners now, they played them back in the day.
Yeah, but those are the good ones.
They are.
Like that's the key.
Yeah.
Like all the Master.
I mean, this game isn't bad.
It's not bad, but it's like, okay, so I mean, there's an argument to be made for both of them. Like the
maybe they do both.
The latest Halo on PlayStation. Okay, great. But also, all the Halos you actually give a shit about on PlayStation, that's a pretty good pitch,
or maybe
too.
It's the whole freaking Halo collection on PlayStation. I just think something Halo-related on PlayStation
It does kind of feel like something drastic has to be done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that could be it.
So we'll see. Again, grasping at straws. It's always fun to try to predict stuff. And, you know, we've been doing this for a while. We've been to a lot of these press conferences. We know people at Xbox. We know the people who work behind the scenes at these companies. It gives us a little bit, I think, more insight into what might happen, but we'll see. And before we wrap it all up, here's a couple bonus things that I wanted to talk about. Let me see the time here. Okay, I think I got time. Bonus number 1. My God, can we finally see EA's Skate game?
No. Not allowed.
Where the hell is it?
In fact, when it comes out, it's just going to be a black screen.
Yeah.
You never get to see it.
What the hell? I'm hoping we eventually see Skate. That would be nice.
Why the fuck is there no Burnout 3 Takedown remaster?
I don't know.
Where's my remaster
games
of that?
People actually need to remaster and remake.
Yeah.
Bonus 2. Will we see new Xbox hardware?
No.
No?
No.
Not even like a souped up Series Z or whatever the hell they call it? Okay.
No.
Bonus 3. Name a game that will be announced as going multi-platform besides Halo Infinite. What about Helldivers 2 on Xbox?
Well, no.
No?
Sony will never go to Xbox. I mean, MLB is one thing. Their own IP, no. Sony wouldn't do that.
After how it did on PC?
No.
Just a thought.
You know, your options there are Microsoft games. Mm-hmm. Like when you ask this question, I'm like, what Microsoft?
Redfall.
Oh, yeah. Talk about good money after bad. Honestly, I mean, maybe ridiculous. I mean, especially because it doesn't seem like there is one coming this year. Forza Horizon 5.
Yep.
On PlayStation.
Uh-huh.
Because there is nothing like that game on there. I mean, yes, the Crew, but give me a break.
The Crew Motorfest is closest, yeah.
But like, there's nothing that is remotely on par with the Horizon games.
Yep. That's what I was targeting too. Yep. And then the final bonus question: will there be a woman at Summer Game Fest 2024?
Oh.
Remember last year it was 2.5 hours and not a single woman.
Yes. I think there will be because Jeff does hear things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe just one.
Yeah.
but there will.
All right. Well, there you go. Those are our predictions for Summer Game Fest 2024 / not E3 2024. She's going crazy. Luna's going crazy.
She's stuck to the curtain.
So it'll be fun to watch and see if any of our predictions come true, as always.
She needs to be clipped.
Oh, really?
I
never did that with my cat. My cat would rip me to shreds if I tried to.
I mean, they don't like it, but
they will relent.
Rampage will just sit there and whine. She spins. Yeah. She does a barrel roll and tries to get away. And it took me months when I first got her to get used to that. She just like starts spinning. I'm like, I can't hold on to the cat.
Yeah.
No, it's all right now.
Okay, well, it's time for us to move on to our New York Sneaker Society Sneaker of the Week. What's up, everyone? Shane here, and one thing you may not realize about me is that I am a total sneakerhead. That's right. I've been collecting Nike sneakers since the early 90s. My favorites are Air Max 95 and Air Max 97. Now, one thing that's different about me from your typical sneakerhead is that I actually wear the sneakers. And because of that, they can get dirty. And that is where New York Sneaker Society comes in. Using their advanced shoe cleaning products, I turned an old pair of Nikes that looked like this into this. With their cleaning products, your sneaker life can go from a year to 5 or more. I know that. I have shoes that are like 30 years old that I still wear because I've cleaned them. You can also lower your carbon footprint, by keeping your kicks looking fresh. For my daily drivers, I also appreciate New York Sneaker Society's Refresh Spray to keep them smelling great and staying crisp. Head to nysneakersociety.co/sifted to clean your shoes like a pro at home and get 10% off your order. That's right, that's nysneakersociety.co/sifted for 10% off. One important thing to keep in mind is that URL, nysneakersociety.co/sifted, if you use that, you actually don't get 10% off, you get 15% off. And if you're buying one of the bigger packages, like one of the big kits that can help you overhaul your entire sneaker collection, you get a nice discount. But also, that discount applies even if you just want one of the smaller kits that you can just use to kind of clean up a couple pairs of shoes. Those are around $15. You can still save a couple bucks if you use that URL. So again, make sure you use nysneakersociety.co/sifted and get those shoes cleaned up and just create a whole new selection of shoes to wear by spending very little money. And one thing we like to do for this sponsorship is introduce you guys to a smaller game that may be flying under the radar. It's our New York Sneaker Society Sneaker of the Week. And for this week's episode 390, it is a game called Humanity. Do you remember this game, Matt?
Yeah, I remember the trailers and stuff.
So this is a puzzle platformer that was only available for VR until yesterday. It was, honestly, one of the trippiest games I've ever played, Matt. When I borrowed your PlayStation VR2, I'm just saying, if you like to get a little tilted and play video games, maybe smoke up a little bit, drink something before you play games, this is just the game that you want to play. It is trippy AF. The one thing about it was like playing it in VR, you could bend down and look very closely at the human beings, and it's just, I don't know how to put it into words, man. It literally like tripped me out playing this game in VR. but it's also very cool playing it in 2D. And now the game has been out so long, it has all this crazy user-generated content where people have created different maps to play through, and it's just basically an endless well of content at this point. And basically the premise of the game is that you're trying to get herds of human beings from point A to point B through these crazy landscapes. Now, this trailer for the Xbox version doesn't show the game as much as it should, in my opinion. They try to go with the funny a little bit more. But it's not just an interesting or trippy game. It's also a strategic and fun game to play in its own right. It was the game that stuck with me the most of all the PlayStation VR2 launch games. So playing this in VR, you can bend down and get really close to the environments and see each individual human character model. It is really trippy. If you have PlayStation VR2, I highly recommend this game. But this is a game that's good in its own right. It stands on its own 2 feet as a fun puzzle platformer to play. Again, it has only been available for VR up until this week.
No, it was always not VR.
I don't think so.
No,
you can play it on PS5 without VR?
I don't know about PS5, but it's definitely on PC.
Really?
Well, even this trailer says VR is only available in PC, Windows 10 and 11.
But what does that have to do with now?
It came out for non-VR on launch day when it originally came out.
Really?
Humanity has always been available non-VR.
Because the trailer description for this trailer says now available in 2D. On YouTube.
99% sure this has always not required VR.
Huh. I thought it did. Well, it's still
I think it was basically pushed as VR very hard, but I don't think you've ever needed VR.
Interesting.
I feel like you'd be missing part of it if you did that, but...
What, you mean not playing it in VR?
Yeah, it seems like that's part of the appeal.
I guess. I mean, it's still a really good puzzle platformer regardless of whether you play it in VR or not. But it is a smaller game that just came out this week to a brand new audience, and so I am recommending it as our sneaker of the week for GameFace episode 390. It is Humanity. And again, you can get it on PlayStation VR. I think you can get it on PC VR. And according to Matt, it sounds like you can play it in 2D. Do you think you can play it in 2D on PS5 as well?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. That is our Sneaker of the Week, courtesy of New York Sneaker Society. Again, go to nysneakersociety.co/SIFTD to get 15% off your order.
Your last week's Sneaker of the Week was noticed by the developer, apparently.
Oh, really? Who says that?
Major Skittles.
Well, that's great. Toon Medic, thank you for Twitch Prime, man. That's awesome. Toon Medic. He also, so wait.
Major
Skittles. My friend Leo is a developer. Oh, wow, that's awesome. Haunty. Dude, give that guy my high five, man. I freaking love that game. Did he actually watch the segment at all? Yeah, I really loved it. I don't know if you guys went and played it. Did you play it, Matt, after I talked about it last week?
I installed it. I haven't played it.
Give it a go, man. And I hope, did any of you guys play it? You should, man. Give it a go. It's on Game Pass right now, so if you're a subscriber, do it, man. It is one of the best games I've played on Game Pass. Major Skittles, yes, please pass along the message to just thank him for making an awesome game. I wish there were more games like Haunty, a lot more. And tell him to, no matter how that game does financially, to not sacrifice his creative vision for games because he's on the right track. Wishlisted it, some people said. Yeah, if you don't have Game Pass and, wishlisted on Steam or whatever, I think it's available for like everything as well, so you can get it on all platforms. And with that, now it's time for... That's right, it's time for Name That Game, and it's the old, new version of Name That Game, where I show you guys screenshots of a video game, and you try to guess the name of the game before Matt. We used to do an audio version, but that was a special sponsorship take on Name That Game that we did with SoundWizardry.com. They can't sponsor us right now, so we put that on the shelf, so hopefully Sound Wizardry can come back once they get themselves a new contract, and we can resume that. But in the meantime, we're going to go back to our old ways, where we look at screenshots. A couple things before we get going. If you've won already this year, do not play. You can only win one time per calendar year. And yes, that includes winning Name That Game Tune. If you've won any Name That Game this year, do not play. You cannot win twice. The chat goes into slow mode, so you only get to put one chat in every 60 seconds. Make sure you make it count. Don't just spam the chat. with a bunch of random game titles, hoping you guess it right. You will not win. And then the final thing is, if you don't play PC games, or you don't have a friend or a significant other that plays PC games, please don't play. Because if you win, we give you a free PC game. And we don't want to just give that code away for it to just go unused. So if you have no interest in playing PC games and there's not a friend or someone you can give the code to, don't play. Let somebody win who will actually use the code that we give out to the winners. So with that, I think we're ready to get going. We have the clock back now, Matt, because it's a screenshot version, so you don't hear it, but they do on the stream. We have a ticking clock to ratchet up the intensity. Are you ready, Matt?
Sure.
I hope you guys are ready. Here we go with Name That Game. Here's the first screenshot in 3, 2, 1. And obviously, we make the first shots difficult, and they become more obvious as we go. I try to make it so you guys can't get it on the first one, but sometimes you do. Ghost Runner, no. Mass Effect, no.
It Takes Two.
It Takes Two, no. That's a good guess, though. The Witcher 3, no. Control, no. KOTOR, no. South Park Stick of Truth, no. Red Dead Redemption 2, no. Red Dead Redemption, no. Pacific Drive, no. Resident Evil 8, no. Fable, no. That would be very clever of me, though, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, I'm not clever enough. God of War, no. Grounded, no. Grounded's also a good guess. Any other guesses before we go on to the second one? As long as I make it past the second one, the rest is gravy. So I'll be happy if that's the case. Are you sure it's not Body Harvest? Not yet, man.
It's not orange enough to be Body Harvest.
Someday you will win with Body Harvest. I promise you that, Emperor Dread. What a shame it would be if somebody else won Body Harvest. Ungrounded, no. Any more guesses before we go on to the second one? All right, here we go. Here's the second image in 3, 2, 1. That should maybe give it away. Life is Strange, no.
Tell Me Why.
Tell Me Why, no. Ghost of Tsushima, no. Half-Life 2, no. Yakuza, no. Buck Bumble, no. Wow.
Buck Bumble didn't look that good.
Eric Cartmenez. Yakuza Like a Dragon, no. Max Payne, no. We have a winner. Top off the meta got it with Stray. Awesome. Here's your round of applause. Yep, it's Stray. The cat sim. And I'll show you very quickly the other screenshots. Here's the third one. Here's the fourth one. That one would have given it away probably, if not at the other ones. And then here's the last one. You actually see the cat with the collar. Congratulations. Here's another round of applause for you. Great job. And to get your free game, you can DM us right here at twitch.tv/SiftedGames. You can DM me on Sifted. I'm at Shane. You can DM me personally on Twitter. I'm at Dinfire. You can DM Sifted on Twitter at SiftedGames. Get at us anyway, and we'll get you your free PC code. Congratulations once again on winning. And with that, we're going to wrap up the show. But before we go, I just want to remind you that we are supported 100% based upon the patrons at patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD. For just $4 a month, you get GameFace early, you get Pactor Factor a week early, you get all our content at least 3 days early, in most cases 4 days early. If you don't have any money and you can't afford to help us that way, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. If you're watching on YouTube, go down below and help us out with Twitch Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can give us a free $2.50 every month just because you're a subscriber. You don't have to pay anything. It is a part of your benefit. Don't let the benefit go to waste. Give us your Twitch Prime. Again, the instructions for doing that are down below. And if you don't even have Amazon Prime, you can still help us. You can review the show on the podcast service that you're listening to it on right now. In fact, let's just pause the show right now and go do that. Give us 5 stars. Best gaming podcast ever. That helps us a ton. It costs you nothing. It takes you 5 seconds. That would be awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the show. Leave us a comment to help with the algorithm. And this worked last week. You guys actually did this. Thank you very much. Even if it just says, love the show, best gaming podcast. That's it. all that stuff makes a difference. It helps us bubble up in the algorithm for other people looking for video game podcasts. So there's so many ways you can help us, whether you have money or not. But of course, we thank the people who go to our Patreon and support us there. And in particular, the people who are pledging at $30 or more per month. Those are the people whose names run along the bottom of GameFace. And I have to admit, we just lost a bunch of those people this month. I'm not sure why, but I think this was the smallest number of those people we've had for a really, really long time, maybe ever. So maybe if a couple of you guys could jump up to fill in the people that bailed. I don't know why it happened, but it did right before E3, which is also weird, but I don't know why this stuff happens anymore, people. I just do the best I can. I just work my ass off every day, and I hope that that's good enough. So, again, don't forget, our Not E3 stuff coming up. It's myself, Michael Pachter, Marcus Beer for both the Microsoft press conference, Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, and the Ubisoft press conference. Our patrons will be getting that stuff as soon as we can get it up, and then it will all be delayed for everybody else on our YouTube channel for a few days later. So really excited about Not E3 and Summer Game Fest. I'll be seeing you guys on and off the site, on and off of broadcasts, on and off of shows here over the next 4 or 5 days. Also, don't forget, no GameFace next Tuesday because we're doing all this other stuff for Summer Game Fest and Not E3. So Matt, have yourself an awesome vacation, man. Hope you enjoy yourself. Get a little R&R. Keep one foot in the game space. Keep an eye on what's going on, and we'll talk to you about it when you get back. We'll see you guys in the very near future. Have yourselves an awesome week. GameFace is up and out.